See if it works.
We're live.
Are we live? Oh, hello, everyone. Welcome. When I get, I don't have the link just yet because it still looks like it's loading on my end, but I'm going to send it in one sec. You know what? We might even just edit this part out because, oh, here we go. Here we go. Okay. So I'm going to send this link to all of our peeps. Cool.
We're live.
Are we live? Oh, hello, everyone. You want to pull? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. You want to pull while I'm inviting people, you want to pull like just like a Equinox energy card to start us off / like kill time
Of
LOL.
course.
Excellent.
Of course. So my name's Razzie. This is the Moody Wool, and we're talking about the spring equinox. And I'm going to pull an energy card. Happy Aries season. Happy start of the zodiac new year. Here we are.
Happy New Year.
So let's see what kind of energy we got going from the star seeds above. I feel like someone's saying stop.
Stop.
We the Hathors. So here
Whoa.
we are. Deep love, mother's milk, and birth as a portal. And we were kind of talking about this, right? So even though we are definitely entering a birth cycle every time Aries season starts, this is a very interesting birth that we're having this year, right? It's a very different energy than a few of the last years that we've been through. And there is this still reminiscent of Venus and Pisces love and this divine love that's been coming up, and the cosmic mother who is above us all, and the one that's ushering us through this time. But like, what is really being birthed, right? Other than deep love in our lives or the lack of deep love. So there is this play on, well, where are you at on that scale? Are you seeing the love show up around you? Are you feeling it even if it isn't right there in front of your face? Or are you feeling the lack of love? And if that's the case, well, you're also being birthed through this time in order to understand the things that are dying in your life, because things do die as things are born. And that's one of the things that I feel like we're going to get more in depth with.
Dude, that's like so the theme of this equinox. And I just, out of curiosity, put it in an asteroid Hathor. We're going to talk more about the asteroids, but asteroid Hathor is the asteroid that is currently sitting between Uranus, and Lilith. So Hathor now is at 12 degrees Taurus, which is interesting because we also have a Scorpio Scorpio new moon coming up later, in a few months or whatever. I have all the dates, but because first we'll do the Libra full moon, and then we'll do an Aries new moon, and then we'll have a Scorpio full moon, and it will be opposite this point in the chart. And so it's kind of interesting because it really is like, and Scorpio is death. So it really is like this rebirth is not so much oh, what's up, Maggie? It's not so much a rebirth in terms of like, okay, now like fresh start. It's fresh start, but it's like almost like we're at the funeral. It's like something has to die in order for something else to be reborn. And there's a lot of themes in the chart. And when we get more into it, we'll wait for a few people to join. We can do another card if you want, just while a few people jump on or whatever. But it's really like, this is a death cycle. And it's not a fearful death cycle. It's not like, we just want to be really careful to watch. Oh, what's up, Mark? Mm-hmm. We want to just really watch what old habits or what old people or what old things we're like holding on to for dear life, because we get to decide how easy or difficult. It's like, at the end of the day, if something needs to die, no matter how karmic the pattern or no matter how much you want to keep it, you cannot let go of it. So it's going to get taken from you. So the more that you can kind of be a part of this, it's like, if it's not like a shocking death, if it's like, okay, we're in hospice, we're like, we know it's coming, we say our goodbyes, we bless it, we honor it, we can actually make it much easier to let go of the things that we need to let go of in order to start this new cycle.
Right. There is a deep sense of abundance that you can block yourself from if you aren't stepping into this new higher vibration of love. Now, the thing about the newer high vibration of love, the reason why it's so linked to death is because it takes sacrifice to be on that vibration. It takes sacrificing the things in your life that will weigh you down. So when you're holding on, even though it seems like holding on to those things is a nurturing mom quality, the truth is the best moms, the moms that have raised all of us. The reason why we have survived throughout lineages and many, many ancestors to be here alive right now is because we had some tough moms who walked away from scenarios to save their lives to get here. And it took sacrifice. So this is why, even though birth is, yes, a portal, that portal is gonna, you don't know where you're gonna end up on the other side of that portal. You don't know when you're in your mom's womb that you're coming out onto earth. You can't see, and you just know that you're getting pushed and you're going on that journey, and we're all getting pushed. Now, to talk about that too, don't forget, we have Mars in Gemini on the North Node with the moon there today. So we're really feeling in today with the start of this Aries season. What are the real new conversations? What are the real new people around you? There's a lot of things and people and places that have been illuminated that show you they're not on the same page as you with love. And it is okay to sacrifice that and let them go, because they have to get where they're going. So if you allow yourself to go through the birth canal, the portal into this newer world that we've been stepping into and conceptualizing and visualizing for ourselves since around 2012. I was just talking about that earlier, like even prior to that, but 2012 was very significant because we chose what kind of speed we want to live at and what kind of direction we want to walk towards. And it was a very subconscious thing for most of us. Some people, were tapped in, but if you weren't, you were picking around that time where you wanted to be at right now. So once again, if you look around you and it feels like the real love is far away, know that you're working towards that still, and you have to make a choice during this Aries season to push as much as you can to really look around your community, which is Gemini as well, right? Look around your circle, your community, and only choose to align with the best vibration in that circle that reflects you, because Gemini is the true reflection. There are certain people that reflect you, and there are certain people that are going to reflect your shadow and your darkness from the past. That's still coming up. Which conversation do you want to have? Don't respond to the shadows in the past, because if you know you have grown and you are pushing forward, keep the push. Allow that push to take you away. Right.
And I want to say that when we're talking about that push to like higher love or to a really fulfilling romantic love or just more love in your life in general, that push that we're talking about isn't necessarily a forceful act. It's that push is just choosing love, and it's actually just self-care. It's being loving. It's stopping yourself from repeating old patterns. And when you're talking about 2012 being the beginning, I think that what's really interesting is that between 2012 and 2020, this was sort of this, you remember the Mayan calendar when it was like, this is the 2012, this is the end. It's not that it was the end. It's that in the way that the calculations worked out, there's a gap. So there was an 8-year gap that we actually had this big time retrograde Venus Mars cycle in, there was a lot of Scorpio retrogrades, and it was really this sort of like a karmic wormhole that we were stuck in. So a lot of the people that we brought in 2012 were our karmic family and were the people that we had shit to work out with. And not that we need to let go of those people or change. I mean, I think about I started stand-up comedy in 2012. So it wasn't all bad, and it's not all only karmic partners that now none of it was true love. No. But it's we can't there is quantum leaping available and possible, but it still doesn't, quantum leaping doesn't mean that you get to skip out of your linear timeline, because we are in the 3D and we are on Earth. So really we want to look at the relationships and the things that we started and everything that we brought to us in 2012 that, through 2020, there was this whole experience that felt like a life and a death. And there was this huge culmination at the end of 2020 when we actually started this sort of move into the more Aquarian era on December 21st, which was also the winter solstice. So these solstices become really important, these balance times, because it's now that we've moved out of this portal and we're back on this sort of clock, we are inventing new timelines and we are stepping into new timelines, but it's not without an awareness of the past. And it's because of if you didn't have those experiences from 2012 to 2020 that you actually had to work through and choose wrong and then choose right and then have it be so fucked up and confusing, or this push and pull. It's because there was past life shit to be worked out. And I think that's something that keeps coming up in my readings, that I feel like I sound crazy saying it, but it comes up so much that I'm like, all right, maybe it's a thing, which is that I think that's something that we as a collective are suffering from. So it's PTSD, but I don't think it's from this lifetime. I think that we're suffering from collective past life PTSD, and it has colored in so much of the divine masculine and the divine feminine, and the fears and the behaviors that we participate in as normal as a culture. And so there's reflections of it in our youth, or in the way that we were raised, or the way that we grew up, or even more recently. But when we're being triggered, it's we're talking about ancient triggers. I mean, Nicole and I talk a lot about this question about the twin flame paradigm, or what that really means. And I think this last new moon in Pisces was really deeply healing for anybody that has identified with this twin flame, like runner separation, like runner chaser, where you're like, will they ever be mine? And I think this last new moon, because asteroid Isis was conjunct the new moon with Venus, the sun, and Neptune in Pisces, kind of ending this karmic cycle. And we'll talk about it more in a bit. We'll go into the astrology a little more first, but I pulled up a bunch of different Egyptian asteroids just like out of curiosity, because I'm into the asteroids. I love the asteroids. I think they flavor the story in such in a deeply feminine and like ancestral, like we can really track our ancient lineage, our soul lineage, when we use the asteroids. So there's some crazy ass synchronicities with where the asteroids in this current chart are. Where it started with the new moon in Pisces, where I was like, yo, this is really like weird, because we also have this conjunction. I'll talk about it more in a minute, but we had all these conjunctions really indicating a healing in this twin flame dynamic, which is to say that we're really realizing that the feminine energy and the masculine energy that we're searching for in other people is 100% within us. We can see it in our charts. And what we're talking about really is really surrendering to that the divine masculine energy is not money and capitalism and support by way of the physical. It's support by way of the spiritual. And the divine masculine in this Egyptian astrology is represented by Osiris. It's actually the ability to conceive and the ability to support the feminine, which is represented by earth, right? Earth and water are the feminine modalities. Air and fire, which are more transformational and we can't quite see them or touch them, or that's the divine masculine. And so when you have this combination, realizing that, oh, the divine masculine is not about like daddy's money or, some big dick bull coming to satisfy you. It really is about knowing that you are supported on high, and you can receive messages, and you can co-create with the universe in the physical, which even for the men who are here, the physical is the feminine. Actually, the creation that happens, any physical creation that happens on earth is related to the feminine, and it's guided by spirit. It's guided by this higher spiritual. And I think that, if there are any men watching, the pressure is off. It's not that the divine masculine needs to like provide and support and be this perfect paradigm of masculinity as far as we have learned. It's about being a stand for love and being a stand for support, whether you're physically connected or not. It's about being really tuned into that separation energy is actually where the love is in a lot of cases. It's actually knowing that even if I can't see you, I can feel you, and I can work with you, and I can talk to you. And we have this relationship that is non-physical. And you can look at it in your own chart too. In book of reading, we can do like a quick asteroid thing. But when you notice in your own chart where Isis and Osiris are, and then also asteroid Horus, Horus, which is the child that this. I'll tell you the story in a minute. Marguerite, we talked about it on the live, but this story of divine creation with the physical produces this Horus energy, which is this divine miracle child that this blessed union created. And then he ended up sacrificing a lot of his life and avenging his father's murder, and he loses his eyes. So both of his eyes are ripped out of his head, but then he actually becomes more powerful because he can only use his third eye. So the asteroid Horus represents not only I think all of our inner childs. I haven't read that anywhere. That's my own interpretation, but I think Horus in your chart and Horus in the chart represents the miracle child that is born out of this combination of earth and spirit. And it's like a it's an autistic kid, but it's like an indigo child or a crystal child. It's like when these children that are all going to be coming into the world now moving forward are all going to carry this energy of like this spiritual kid. Every kid turns into the kid from The Sixth Sense from here on out. You heard it here first.
Right. Yeah. And so like the topic of the divine feminine and masculine, right, which we've been talking about so much, we know that we're stepping into this new era that has an emphasis more on the feminine qualities and really healing the masculine qualities that did not get a chance to heal. Now, the one thing we're staying away from is the division of both sides, because the truth is we can't hide anymore the responsibility of bridging both the masculine and feminine within ourselves before we meet another person and integrate with someone else. Mm-hmm. There is much more obvious consequences now, other than the very in our face limitations that we have. We have to think a lot smarter and harder when it comes to who do we want to spend our time with? Who do we want to build with? Who do we want to work with? And the thing about this divine feminine energy and what Aquarius season, Pisces season was leading up to this Aries season was we are now all rooted in love. And this idea of leadership changes from this divine masculine to divine feminine. The thing that the feminine teaches us is that it is about collective leadership. And that's why we are so plugged into the collective emotions. Before 2012, everyone had their own feelings, their own thoughts separate from each other, even from the people that we lived with. Now, with all of this that has transpired, we really have to wake up and realize that what we do affects the next person and the next person and the next person. And it's not about all being on the same page, which is what Aquarius shows us. We still can be different and respect, because when we come rooted in love, everyone's beliefs and everyone's knowledge is listened to. And that is real leadership, is when your ears are open to listen to the people that are coming to you looking for you for help or guidance or whatever it is. And in a collective leadership role, which is what this Gemini energy in the North Node is showing us. It is showing us how to keep, our connections and our businesses and our practices and our philosophies alive with those who don't share the same ones as us. But we can share money. We can share resources.
In fact, we have to.
Exactly. We have to survive. But now it's not it really isn't a competition anymore. Pluto and Capricorn has done an amazing job at destroying a lot of those concepts. And now it's at 26 degrees at the very end, still making its way out. And then it's going to hit Aquarius. And when Pluto hits Aquarius, it really is, are you able to listen to someone else and work with someone else truthfully and transparently, instead of this idea of persuasion? There is no persuasion with Aquarius energy, with the Gemini energy. There's no persuasion when it goes in Aries season. Aries season is, here I am. This is what I fight for. And this is it. I don't have time to bullshit with you, right? Aquarius energy is detached. So even if you're bullshitting, the other person can still listen to you and hold space. And Pisces energy is really from that all connected, we are one love. So even if you're lying and I'm sitting here listening, we are still reflections of each other, and vice versa. So at the end of the day, how do you hold space for the other people in your life, even if you're drifting apart from them, right? Because this whole sacrifice thing, it isn't a forced thing. That's the thing that we got to realize. It isn't. The waters of Pisces season has taken us on the ride to take us where we got to go. And if we keep following the higher air that's calling us of Aquarius, and we understand that we're bridging this Gemini on the earth, the air, the breath we share, our conversation with the channeled information from the stars, if we're bridging that all with each other, then we are naturally going to just through a simple conversation, understand whether or not we're connected to the people that are around us. And the air and the waters are going to take us where they got to go, where we have to go. Now, though, we do have Sun in Aries at 0 and Chiron at 8 degrees, right? So as Aries season continues to play out, we are still getting these reminders of, well, where are our individual pains, or how have we affected the collective? How have we affected the collective and our community in the past? Have we done enough? Was it selfish? Was it egoic? And we have this chance to reevaluate our personalities and alter that. We always have this. Every time we get to Aries season, every year, we get a chance to think about the way we're behaving, our actual identity, and we get a chance to change those things. Those things are not finite. Even if you have a very finite fixed chart, you still can evolve. That's why Uranus is in Taurus. That's why Hathor is there, right next to Lilith. So we are really evolving our sex game. And it's not even about how you fuck. It's about, well, we're evolving this sense of, when we are really connected to someone, we are constantly having that sexual energy play out. And now what do we want to do with it? Once again, there is more responsibility. Saturn is in Aquarius. And the thing is, if you take that responsibility on with stride and you don't decide to turn the blind eye, then Jupiter is going to pair really well with Saturn and Aquarius and give you all these opportunities to do that up leveling, to get you further and further into the place that you want to go, which is a very distant place, so it feels. But it's actually right around the corner. And yeah, shifting, when we're shifting and we're quantum leaping and jumping, that doesn't mean you wake up tomorrow and you're in a different place in the world. You actually have to shift.
Well, it's like it's shifting. What she's saying, she means like the way you're being about it.
Yes. So you will notice micro shifts within yourself and your environment as you choose a higher response than the last time you've been through this same thing. We're always looping and we're always going through all the cycles of emotions and all the cycles of our lives. So we'll notice we have similar scenarios that we attract over and over and over again. Now, every time we attract it, how have you up-leveled that response since the last time? How have you stayed more quiet to yourself, or how have you displayed more of how you really feel? Every chance to get out of your comfort zone, which is also the Aquarian energy, get out of your comfort zone just a little bit more. That's every time you do that, it's a shift. And you will then notice the things you attract change. The people that come to you change. And some people will back off and leave you alone. And that is the true mark of, well, are you shifting in your life? You know, what can you see that's different from right now throughout all last year? How much have you accomplished? Because we've all been given such grand opportunities to grow. How further have you gotten within yourself?
Yeah, and I think it comes down to really now, as we move into this Aries season and we're redefining our avatars and we're redefining who we want to be in the world and for the people around us. It's not necessarily, I think what Nicole said is so right, that it's like we were coming from this perspective where it was like really every man for themselves, and like, you know, people, you know, we're interfighting between each other. And why I think it's devastating, but really important that during this past year, there have not only been attacks, like flagrant attacks on the Black community, but now on the Asian community, and the people of color are all being, at least in this country, really, I think there's a highlight kind of going around all these little like nooks and crannies where we have forgotten that white people aren't the fucking savior, and that this actually isn't supposed to be a white supremacy country or a white supremacy earth. Like, earth is not white. Like, so we have to, this stuff has to come up. It is so scary. It's so dangerous. And my heart goes out to anybody who's feeling the fear for themselves. But it's important that it's like, if you have cancer, just because you don't know that you have cancer doesn't mean you don't have it. So we need to know, we need to unearth all of these divides and separations between our cultures, not because we need to like adopt or steal or you know, gentrify or whatever, but because we have to be aware that we are killing each other for no fucking reason. And that that the people that are stuck in this, and no pun intended, but like trigger happy way of being really is dangerous. And so when we're talking about working with people that are different from us, whether it's culturally or political ideology or just like, like spicy food, like whatever it is, on whatever level that you're finding that there's this discord between you and someone else or something different, if you can practice responding and not reacting, you're going to find that not only do you have a lot more in common than you thought, or that there's common ground and there's something to learn from each other, but the part of that other person that's really triggered you, or that really has you feeling fearful or judgmental or racist or like, ready to fight. Because Aries season, it can also bring this sort of, all day outside my window, I'm glad it's not happening now, but there have been union protests going on in the streets of Philadelphia all day today. And I thought it was so perfect for the beginning of Aries season, because it's like, and for this Aries season in particular, because it really is this like, let's get out there and fight for what we believe in. But the fact that it was for the union workers, it's so cool, because it's like, it was for Amazon union actually. So it was like, oh, cool. Yeah. Like there's this group of people who are all fighting for the same cause, but what it is for each other. And what it is for equality. And what it is for a higher consciousness of how we treat each other. Right. And the impact that right now the political, not even political, the financial systems of the globe are so grossly unbalanced, right? So we have a lot of people that have no money, a few people that have some money, and then a tiny bit of people that have all the fucking money, right? And so there does need to be shifts in the way that we do money. And I do think that cryptocurrency and all of that is a step towards the right direction. But at the end of the day, Bitcoin is still capitalism. That isn't going to be the end all be all to how we end up shifting in our financial systems. The way that we're going to end up shifting our financial systems is by really actually understanding that the stronger my neighbor is, the stronger my neighborhood is, and the stronger my neighborhood is, the stronger I am. Like, it's interesting because I look at, we were talking about the asteroids. Asteroid Isis is currently, so Venus and asteroid Isis now are exactly conjunct at 28 degrees Pisces. So we had this new moon, and then the moon moved, the sun moved, and Venus is moving towards Aries, and will move into Aries, I think tomorrow actually. But today, Isis and Venus are now like meeting up and talking about, okay, what did we learn at the new moon? What do we want to do differently? Isis is the asteroid that represents that divine feminine desire to put pieces back in place, and this devotion to love, and this devotion to higher knowing that you can create miracles when not only you are whole, but you bring the community together, and you bring the different pieces that seem to be disparate back together, whether it's just mental or. I'm so proud because when I started doing this research, I realized that Isis was exactly conjunct my midheaven in Aquarius. And so I'm like, that's the fucking moonual. That's the moonual. Like, I'm talented. I could just be a stand-up comedian. Sure. I could just be like a one-on-one astrologer, but ultimately I am driven by this for some reason. You don't have, how many agents have said to me, stop worrying about other people's hair? I remember at the end of Caroline's, when I was doing moonual at Caroline said to me, I don't know why you're putting so much energy into promoting other people. Why don't you just do an hour every time and you'll just do the Sarah show? Isn't
that what we're saying is the old, right? Not the collective leadership, but that's the old version. So imagine that you took that advice and you kept going, just you.
I fired all my managers. I literally, no, I couldn't. If I had taken that advice and just created, I'm so grateful now that I did what I did, because during this pandemic, when all of the comedians were, struggling to just start a podcast, or which I did too, but it's like, struggling to get things going, the moonual and my coaching in astrology, which they told me, no, you need to focus on one thing. You need to focus on your talent, and your talent is going to be the thing that makes you famous. And then you can worry about other people. I said, I don't think so. I'm not interested in it. And I genuinely wasn't interested. You couldn't, at a certain point, it was like all the failure that I had felt, like, I'm such a failure. I don't have a better comedy career than I thought I would. It's like, fuck that. I actually am not here. I'm not interested in working on my 5 minutes to present to the world. I'm interested in growing a community. And now in the astrology, I actually totally understand why, because on a higher level, in terms of my own personal leadership, I do feel, and I have felt that it's been my responsibility, for whatever reason, to bring all the pieces together and to bring all the people together. And that's actually, I could use my talent to attract a lot of people, not because I am going to have a fabulous career, but because we are going to have a fabulous time on earth and that we get to be together. And that's one of the great benefits. Marguerite, interesting. She said, is that true though? Stronger neighborhood, stronger the individual is? What do you think, Nicole?
So, I mean, when they say you're only as strong as your weakest link on your team, that's a real thing, right? So the thing that I want to talk about when we're talking about politics and we're talking about people of color and white people and what do we do for each other, once again, this goes back to collective leadership, and this goes back to the very simple truth. What I find that people don't do enough, especially people that are in higher people than people of color, is they don't listen. It's really as simple as that. It's not filling up this space with excuses or reasons. It's actually just saying, what did you go through? Because you never had a voice, and I just want to listen, and that's all. And when you find those weaker people within your neighborhood, your community, and you go and you listen to those people, you're gonna find out for yourself the real disparities, the real issues that are happening around you. And if it's something happening next door to you, of course you damn well sure it affects you, and it makes you a better person, because when you open your ears to, it's not about figuring out the solution, because the solution really comes from the group, and the solution a lot of the times just comes from that the individual person knowing that they're heard, so that they can step out of their comfort zone and do something for themselves to better themselves. And then it makes the whole community stronger. Of course it makes you more of an individual, because now everyone can trust each other to be who they are.
And I also think, to your point, it's like when we're talking about these people that are, the white executives who are just not listening, not interested, we also have to have compassion for them and not just say, fuck you, because it will create more of this tension. We have to go, aw, little baby boy, you're scared. You're scared because you recognize that there are haves and have-nots, and you are gripping to what you have because you know that it's actually not yours. Anything that is yours cannot be taken away, right? So your talent, your compassion, your sense of morality, your sense of ethics, your sense of leadership, and you can develop all of that within yourself. But when it comes to the stuff, the money, the big TV, the apartment, the whatever, that shit comes and goes, and karma is circular. If you are holding all of what you have because you, and even if you're lying to yourself and say, well, I have a higher mission, so I need to save all my money so I can really do good work, maybe not. And I think that well, the last thing I'll say is the thing I think that's really important when we're talking about having more understanding is that it's also for the bad guys. We got to think, you know what? I might have been a fucking bitch too if I was Ursula and I was morbidly obese living under the sea with all those tentacles and nobody was even paying attention to me, and I actually had a great singing voice. I might be like, fuck that little princess too. So and at the same time too, are our communities stronger? Are we stronger when our communities are stronger? Well, we're safer. If there wasn't a reason for people to be looting, there wouldn't be looting. If there wasn't a reason, if there wasn't gross inequality, no one would be so afraid to keep what they have, because everyone would just have enough. And so there would be no reason. I mean, even at least the crimes would become more personal and passionate and wouldn't be so much about like robbery or thief. We wouldn't have all these, and we would be able to share what's going on with us before we do something fucking crazy, like shoot up it's like, we can't have this level of psychic disconnect within us, which is reflected in the way that we treat other people and the way that we because kind of what Nicole was saying before too, with this North Node, Mars, and the Moon all in Gemini together, it's like whatever you think you will make manifest. We are constantly projecting. So it's all you, it's you on you, whatever judgment you have of someone else, that's your own shit too, that's your own fear, that's your own whatever. But if you can go, you know what, I'm going to shift my thoughts, even not to say I'm going to not think that thought, but I'm going to think a different thought that's more loving, or I'm going to just focus on this area where I find connection or I feel safe, then our projections onto others become really loving. And when we're projecting from a loving perspective, then even the lovers that are not our twin flames or life partners or soulmates can either stay in our lives, doesn't really matter, because we know that we're always connected. And it can be from a place of evolution and continuing to evolve the relationship or evolve the circumstance, instead of going, you know what, this is toxic, or you know what, this is bad, you're out. Because the more we disconnect and separate, what Nicole said is so right, that when you're not in the same vibration as someone, it will just fall away. There doesn't have to be this chaotic, painful, to betrayal or breakup or whatever, it will just be a vibration thing, and you'll vibrate with who you vibrate with. And it's not so fucking personal. And then it's like, we don't have to be so angry and upset and then hide our truths until we fucking explode. We actually have to kind of trust. We have to live in a world of trust. We have to be in the space of trust so that we're not a danger to ourselves or others.
Yeah. So money, right? And why does this relate to everything? Because we do know currency is also a current, right? It's an electrical charge that we're giving towards each other. And I've talked about this before, how as we step into this time, people become more of the currency than actual money. And now we're talking about, is it enough to say that I'm a billionaire and I will go to the hood and I will drop a bunch of money on all the people there and walk away? No. Why? Because we're talking about people that don't have the mindset to understand what to do with the money that you're just going to drop on them. So,
I don't know what to do with the money that you all pay me. It doesn't matter how much money I make. I fucking spend every penny of it immediately.
And so at the end of the day, no, that's not enough. It's not enough to say, well, Jeff Bezos or somebody just has to go throw money around at people, because what is everyone going to do with that actual money? People need, once again, to be heard. People need to meet the billionaires and shake their hands to understand the path it takes to get to that place. They need to understand what business really is. They need to meet better quality people, more virtuous people, in order to adopt those qualities and to learn something new, because it's not enough to just give away money. So what are we giving away now? Once again, we're holding space, and we're also like putting our teachings out there. We all have the ability to. You never know. And one thing I like to tell people is that there's no concept of competition, because there are billions of people on the planet. So within these billions of people, we can't just have one person who does one thing or one person to teach one subject. We need various people to do that, because the way I speak is going to hit a certain amount of people who's going to understand it through me. But the same thing I can teach is the same thing Sarah could teach. And when Sarah teaches it, she's speaking to people that understand and relate to her more. So there is no competition. And then the funny thing is, when my people understand me and get what they've gained from me, I gift them to Sarah. And then
we send each other, I send so many people to Nicole, I send so many people to Talia. Like, we're literally, it's like when they say, like, when we're talking about currency and money, whatever, that old saying, I don't know who, I think it's an old African proverb, your network is your net worth. And that really is true. Like, I don't need to know that I'm safe moving forward because I have a savings account, or because I'm playing some capitalist system that I've never really played with in the first place, and that's kind of fucked me my whole life. I know that I'm safe because we're all here on the Zoom right now, because we have a ritual that we come together and that we participate in. So at the end of the day, I never, even as isolating as this time has been, I haven't felt more connected in such a long time. I mean, this plague for me has been the most connected I have felt to so many people, and so many more people, and safer than I've ever felt, because I know that my network is benevolent and loving. And right, Nicole and I send each other clients, and it's not even for money. It's because this is aside from giving me money, we actually have gifts to share, and we want to share them with you, and we want you to share them with the world. So it's all service oriented. And I think the other thing too that I want to just key in on is, when we're talking about listening, what we're really talking about is understanding. Mm-hmm. And it's really easy to hear someone say something, and when you're super defensive inside, you don't, even if you hear the words, you check out. It's like too, when like you're angry at someone and you're like, I get so, some of these karmic partners, I've acted badly. But part of it is because I'm going like, don't you get it? Don't you hear me? I'm screaming in your face. But it's like, the minute that you're screaming in someone's face, they can't hear you. Right. So there has to be when we're talking about the way that we're being, it's not about us appearing to be mature or appearing to, be cool, calm, and collected. It's about actually caring about making a connection and communicating. Right. And I'm going to share my truth, and I'm also going to hear your truth. And then it's that same Isis Osiris sort of paradigm, which is like, from these two separate truths, there can be this third thing born that we can't do without each other. And I'd be interested too, Nicole, like you're saying, like we should have access to the billionaires and we should learn more. I think on one level, yes, At the same time, I'd be really curious to know how many of, first of all, anybody that's a billionaire now has benefited from capitalism, which I don't know enough about economics clearly to tell you what the future of business is. That's Nicole's north node, not mine. She'll figure it out. But I can tell you that I would bet you that if you plugged inner city kids or even us into the minds of billionaires, we would see that they're actually not sacrificing themselves, even though they think they've been spending so much time. They're sacrificing their being a dad, they're sacrificing being home with their kid, whatever. No, they're sacrificing other people, and that's not going to work. So I don't really care about being a billionaire anymore. Like but I don't care about being a billionaire or making millions of dollars in at your expense. I would much rather live client to client and know that there is an honest and equal exchange of energy that is from a loving place.
Yeah. So it's like what we're gonna see more and more is that there's going to be a big shift, and the first sustainable businesses, right, actually allow, and I don't just mean environmentally sustainable, I mean the business itself, which we can understand, and we're going to see more and more that a business is called an entity for a reason. When you sign up for your S Corp, your LLC, or whatever, it's called an entity because you are making.
So interesting. Yeah. Whoa. I never thought about that.
Right. Those are the real spells behind it, because it's the truth. When a business goes to a certain level, you don't actually have control anymore. It becomes a body of its own, filled with bodies, worker bees, worker ants that are now sustaining this business. But any true leader understands, a true virtuous leader, I'm sorry, because there's a very, very, very big difference. There are some leaders that we have, but a true virtuous leader understands that the people on the floor, they need to feel a certain way about, what we're going to find is that businesses are going to be more encompassing, right? They're going to have avenues to allow the people's dreams to come true. So the business that I can create will not keep an employer and sign them to a contract and a death certificate like Walmart and tell them that they have to be here. I will allow somebody to work for me, but I will inquire within that person to find out, what is it that you want to create in the world? Is there a business that you want to do? And how can we help you start your business so you can leave us? A real sustainable business understands that they don't want to lock people's lives into one system, because that's not a good quality of life. That there will always be new people to come replace those people naturally, instead of forcing people to stay underneath long extended contracts for, trying to like give away more money so that you feel like this is better than the other company to work at. The truth is, a real sustainable business will say, hey, if you feel more comfortable working for this person, I will bring you there myself. That is okay. And we will find somebody else to replace this, and the system will work on its own, where people will come in and out as it goes. But these companies are really going to be teaching a lot more, and they're going to be opening up different spaces for people that have nothing to do with their business, really, right? And it's because it has to do with the people. Once business takes that league of, well, and this is another thing that I always talk about, the next divine feminine and the bridge between the feminine and masculine in business, it means that we are all right. The customer is not 100% right? The customer also needs to be taught and needs to be educated. The customer needs to meet the employees so they can see the people packaging their food behind the scenes. And we have to highlight the employees and the people working, because at the end of the day, those are the people putting their heart and soul into something for the customer. So no, the customer is not always right. So re-educating the population, saying that your want for this instant demand of something right now, how you want it, the way you want it, is not realistic, and it's not sustainable. It's also not okay. We don't teach our kids that, right? We show our kids that, okay, they might want to eat donuts and cereal and snacks at 3:00 in the morning, but they're not supposed to, or else their colon will fail by the time they hit their Saturn return, and they might end up dying. So what are we really showing people? We're giving a way better quality of life. There's some corporate companies, for example, that they'll have beer and basically just beer, right? And they'll keep sugar in the kitchen, and if you're here doing overtime, yeah, okay, go get drunk, and so you can stay here and do more work for us. That's not okay, because then when that person's kidney starts failing, or their liver starts failing, they just fire them and go get someone with a healthy liver to fuck up. And that is not okay. Creating a better environment where people can feel more alive in, that's how we create better businesses. And it's not until it probably won't happen in these next 4 years, but we'll see it within the next 15, probably 20 years. There are going to be some companies that excel the profit margins that the old capitalist way of doing things have done. And when those businesses that are actually encompassing of everybody, that care about everybody, when their profit margins start to excel, all of a sudden everybody is going to start to rearrange how they do things.
Yo, let's do it at the Moonual. Let's do it at the Moonual.
We're doing it. So we're doing it, and we're all going to be doing it in our own sections. And that's why these mother networks of companies matter, because it isn't about a monopolizing system anymore. It isn't about, well, this one Walmart is going to take out all the rest of everything else and provide everything and price match everybody. No, value matters now. Value matters. And now that we have such a higher stance in technology, the people who own companies, they can't stay in the shadow. They have to show themselves. We want to know, who are you? Why do you want to do this? What brought you here? And if people stay in the shadows, then that company will naturally fall off, because we don't even know where it comes from. There's no personal currency anymore. That's what I mean by currency with people matter more now. If you can show your individualism off, if you can be that honest and raw about yourself, your good shit, your bad shit, then people will actually want to invest in you, even if you have bad shit. Because guess what? Everybody has shadows. And it's about, how am I working on that? And I need your help to do that. We need your help to continuously reflect, because we actually all want to be better people. So we're going to start to see that more and more. You know, the money thing is interesting. It will continuously blur. We are going to see more crypto. We're going to see more advances in value, especially in the digital world, because now it's going to be about the satisfaction that somebody gets versus I'm hopping on a trend because this is cool and now everyone's doing it, so I'm going to do it too. This is more like, I'm buying a product and I'm going to pay whatever price that I think it's actually valuable, and I'm going to share that product with other people to show them that it brings me joy. It really is about a real sense of joy, a real sense of value that we're looking for now in everything we do. And don't worry, don't be hard on yourself if you're not there yet. If you're still ordering from Amazon, it doesn't really matter. That's okay. It's stages. It's,
well, you have to be in the world that you're in. I mean, what
exactly.
you do only have certain resources, and certain things are more or less accessible or easy to people. But I think ultimately what you're talking about is that we're moving from this really separated place where everybody is like every man for themselves. And it's like, we're now moving into a culture where there's really no, and I don't know, I don't want to say no, but like, we're moving away from ownership.
Mm-hmm.
We're moving away from ownership of each other. We're moving away from ownership of our stuff, of our land, of our, that's the huge issue. Our culture from the beginning of time, has been fighting over real estate, has been fighting over land. And there is such inequity in the amount of spaces there are for people to inhabit and the lack of people inhabiting them. And it's because of this stronghold on what's mine. And so that's why when we're talking about, and I can show you the chart too, but when we're talking about this Aries season, this is a different Aries season than we're used to, because it is a rebirth. It is a fresh start. It is spring. But because we have, I'll pull the chart, because we have Chiron and Ceres with the sun, we have the North Node Mars in Gemini on the North Node Mars in Gemini, all kind of pointing in this direction of mirroring and really seeing ourselves in each other. This is a death more than it is a rebirth. This is not, okay, Aries season, I'm me, I'm back. It is that. You are going to have that rebirth feeling, and your avatar is always up for grabs, and you can kind of design your new astrological year to be whatever feels right for you at the time. But I think we're feeling collective wounding based on our own egotism and based on our own commitment to being right, or commitment to being selfish, or commitment to owning things or people. And so not able anymore to just move forward with our big dreams for the future if they don't actually include everybody. Because, and I don't mean everybody, but I mean everybody, you know, within our sphere, or just the vibration, the higher level love of it. Because it's not gonna, you're gonna get fucked if you come out this new astrological new year fucking pissed about the quarantine, upset about what came up for you for the past year, and then ready to fucking fight or take over or get back what's yours. You can't. And so this is a death of that old part of us that is really committed to thinking. And actually, sure, can I show the chart real quick? Because this is fucking interesting. Okay, so check this out. So hang on, let me just
Look at the charts.
Okay, here we go. So check this out, right? So oops, don't look at any of this. Oh my God, LOL, porn, is it porn? Okay, so check this out. So you can see this, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I plugged in some asteroids that I think paint this picture beautifully. So this is the Equinox chart, okay? First of all, check this out. South node in Sagittarius is moving. First of all, asteroid Juno, also I didn't plug it in, but asteroid Union and Juno are conjunct. So there is this call from our past lives to reconnect with our actual committed long-term life partners. And it might not be who we thought it was going to be. And it might not be anyone you're even going to meet in this lifetime, but it's actually asking us to like, remember what love is, remember where we're coming from, and let go of the people or beliefs or, you know, judgments that you have about who you need to be with or who you should be with or what it should look like or how it has to happen. Right now, conjunct the South node. So what we're letting go of, what we're present to, but what we're also letting go of is asteroid Cleopatra. So without getting too deep into the story of Cleopatra, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not a Cleopatra expert, but as far as I understand, Cleopatra in ancient Egypt, like I think that this is from the last new moon. I think that what we're having is ancient Egyptian remembering, specifically from the Egyptian times. And I think that we are all plugged into this. That's why too, when we're talking about twin flames, all of the twin flames, there were siblings. So now in this life, when you meet your twin flame and then you realize, wow, we actually kind of, there is something that makes us want to really be together and merge. There's also something that is repulsive and difficult. It might not necessarily be because you're running and chasing. It might be because you're siblings, or because you know, it's not necessarily just romantic, it's familial. The twin flame conversation is familial. You feel like family to me. You're my other half because you're my twin, you're my brother, you're my sister, and we rule together because of this family. But in terms of what we know even about genetics and, you know, let's mix it up, you don't want to marry your siblings anymore, right? But Cleopatra was the queen of Egypt, but she was so powerful that the ancient Egyptians actually didn't refer to her as the queen of Egypt. They referred to her as the queen of everything. So Cleopatra's the queen. So she was kind of given this huge ego to think that she was above, you know, she was above everyone, and she was the greatest of all time. And I don't remember what her brother / twin's name was, but I know that they started to have some differences about whether they should colonize Rome or whether, you know, how they should actually use their power. And she kind of was like a sneaky, power hungry bitch. Loved her, very cool, very Elizabeth Taylor, you know, marry him, divorce him, marry him, divorce him. I love that kind of, you know, ego to just get whatever, my storyline. I love it. But she ultimately ends her, if I remember correctly, she asks her lover, Mark Antony, after her twin flame / brother / king died, she had an affair and had a long romance with Mark Antony. And at the end of her life, the end of her life happened because she said, murder me, kill me. So she actually asked to be, she killed herself via, you know, murder. But it didn't end well for Cleopatra. And the lesson for this, when I look at this, is like, oh, yeah, you need to remember that if you think you're better than anyone, or if you think that you're higher above anyone, or if you think that you are the ruler of everything, ultimately it's going to lead to your demise, because you're not only are you not above anyone or the ruler of anyone, we are all equal. And if you are not only going to fight with your husband, sibling, king, brother, or whatever, to the point where you're going to have to separate because of this massive disagreement about how to rule and how to rule the people, or you think that you are this it's a very, very colonist and very capitalist way of thinking with Cleopatra, because she really wanted to just like own everything, and she was in charge of everything and everyone, and her great beauty was enough to get people to do whatever the fuck she said. It's not going to work. So we want to let go of any part of our thinking or any part of our life that we think that we are the supreme being, the supreme ruler, and actually focus to the North Node. Okay, so now we have the North Node. Mars is approaching the North Node. We have the moon here at 16 degrees, and then we have Anubis. Anubis is an asteroid. It's also an Egyptian asteroid and an Egyptian deity. And Anubis was the god of, he was basically like the Judgment Day guy. He was like the ruler of the underworld. And he basically was the guy who, when you died or when there was a death, he would basically take hearts and weigh them. And if your heart was heavy, you would send it to his fucking freak brother, who would eat your heart, and then you would have to be like composted back into the world, and he would shit you out, and then you'd be reborn a flower, or you'd come back for another lifetime. But if your heart was light, if you weren't carrying enormous baggage on your heart, if you weren't heavy in your heart, he would then guide you like he was your fucking concierge into the underworld, because the underworld is actually, especially in Egyptian astrology or Egyptian mythology, not a place to, that's where Osiris lives. It's not a place to fear. It's actually just this other dimension. So you got this, it's kind of like what we're all feeling internally, what the North Node is pointing us to, and what Mars is really activating is this, I think, feeling of get real. Like, yes, you are an ancient being. You'll be back if you die, but we are really present to the possibility of death. We're very present to the possibility of like, if nothing changes, is this what you want your life to look like? Is that your romantic partner? Is that the career that you want to die in? If you were to get coronavirus and die, how heavy is your heart? And that's a heavy, I mean, if you get a car hit by a car, whatever, but it's like, where are you at in terms of your soul? If there are weights and karmic baggage that you're carrying around, you're not going to be guided into the underworld for the afterlife. You're going to be fucking eaten by some weird guy with like a chicken head or something, like a deity, but he has like a horse head, or weird dude. The other thing too is that with Anubis conjunct the North Node and the moon and Mars, I think this is kind of what we're talking about with this death energy. It's like, you don't get to pass go unless you let go of whatever old ideas you have about that Cleopatra, about your own fabulousness. That, no, I'm so proud of myself that I didn't go, yeah, you know what, I am the fucking most talented and I'm going to become the biggest star so that I can help the people. Fuck no, we're together. We're in this together, and it's only fun if you're all having fun. And it's only like, you're only going to want to listen to me, and we're only going to want to listen to each other if we respect each other. And if I don't deserve your respect if I also don't listen, right? Like, and in terms of even just the way that we operate in terms of our own talent or our expressing our own truth, if we don't understand, the less we understand, the less effective we are. Even now, I look back at jokes I did like 10 years ago, and I'm like, how stupid. I don't mean that at all. But I was 10 years younger. So there are things I didn't know. And now none of those jokes resonate. I'm so glad I didn't become famous doing them, because I don't mean them. So we really want to be listening for the other perspective. We want to be seeing the other side of things, so that we don't die heavy and wrong and righteous, so that we can continue to move forward, whether it's on the underworld or the above ground. And we want to do it with this lightness and this sense of safety in community, and this sense of connection to each other. Because if we are connected to each other, it doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank. It doesn't matter if you have a fucking whack grill. It doesn't matter, whatever physically is wrong with you. If you are in community safely, you can actually, you can evolve. It's flexible. You can grow. Now, the other things, and then we're going to do cards for each of the signs. But the other thing I want to say is that, Nicole was talking earlier about this energy of sexuality and sex. And right now we have asteroid Vesta opposite Mercury. Mm-hmm. Asteroid Vesta is like the Vestal Virgin. She's like the sacred virgin of hearth and home. And she really is kind of that we all have Vesta in our charts, and it really shows the part of our souls that we want to just go home to and nurture, that we can heat up around, that we can feel safe around, because there isn't this like drama or pressure. It's kind of this like, it's a very earthy, you know, she really does live in Virgo. She's back in Virgo now, and she's retrograde. So right now there might be a time, it's funny, like I technically have not like chosen celibacy, but my partner isn't here. So like I haven't had sex in a while, which for me, unthinkable. But actually I'm finding that on some weird level, our connection is stronger, whoever he ends up being in my life long term, because it's not marred by this combining of energies that are not pure. There's a purification going on. So Mercury and Vesta opposite each other is going, wait a second, before you just, you know, let anybody fuck you or put your dick in whatever, make sure that you are really owning your energy, and that you're responsible for your energy and for your shit. That's what 0 degrees Aries, and then Chiron and Ceres. It's like, let's actually get really real about what we are bringing to the table, what we are projecting onto others, what we are making mean something that doesn't, because of our ego or because of what. Let's purify ourselves so that we can be reborn as actual like as healers. And so that even if it's that Aries I me energy, it's for the sake of us. And it's not like celibacy for the sake of withholding or celibacy for the sake of like starting over. It's just celibacy for the sake of feeling yourself and feeling those divine connections that aren't confused by the physical. Last thing I'll say is we also have, so Isis is right now with Venus right here, you see. And so as the sun moves into Aries, and then we will have this, so we have a full moon on Sunday. Definitely come to the moon, it's gonna be great. But on this next full moon, the sun and the moon are going to be exactly conjunct Chiron. So it might, not that it's going to be painful necessarily, but we're going to be seeing this dichotomy between what relationships we're in and how we are being in relationships versus how authentic we're being. Are we hurting ourselves being in certain relationships, acting a certain way? Or are we putting on a front in order to maintain relationships instead of actually listening and communicating honestly and receiving whatever we get honestly? Are we able to be transparent? Because if we're not, it's gonna hurt, and we're gonna actually feel the pain of the facade that we've been trying to maintain. It's not gonna work, right? Isis now is with Venus. Venus tomorrow is going to move into Aries, joining all of this new rebirth, like sort of self and soul and present energy. But right now, Isis is kind of what I encourage everybody to do is take a look, not only in just your relationships, but also in like in every area of your life. Where have you spent a lot of time trying to put the pieces together and you're still searching? If you haven't felt that you've met that special someone yet, where have you been putting your energy that actually isn't helpful? If you don't have your dream career, or you don't have enough money. I mean, even for me, I could look through my bank statements and go, oh wow, I'm spending $100 at Wawa every fucking day. Maybe I don't need another fucking gas station cheesesteak. Maybe I can cook at home more. Where are we actually? Because the upside of Isis is that it's this devotion to putting things back together that does create miracles, and it's this loyalty, this love. The downside of it is that, you know, ultimately Isis and Osiris, their union came back into form when she got whatever body parts of his that she could. He was killed twice, second time dismembered. She took all of this time and energy to put together the pieces of his body that she could find across the land, and then she found everything except his penis. I said this before, I like to think she used an eggplant, just because like that's what the emoji now, it's like there's some hieroglyphics, there's like some ancient comedy happening in the emoji system. But so she laid with his limbs and all the pieces of his body that she could find. She couldn't find his penis. What a bummer. She used an eggplant, and at a certain point she just surrendered, and she said, whatever, I did my work. I did a good job of finding whatever I could. And even if I can't sew my body, the body of my man, back to become this Frankenstein as a fully whole man, I'm just going to lay with the work I've done. I'm going to lay with what my devotion has done is brought back 13 out of 14 of his pieces. And that's going to be enough. And so she lays down with Osiris, who had been killed twice by his brother Set. And now she lays with him, and it's actually through this divine, he comes back to life. The eggplant is functional. They have sex, even though he's twice dead and no penis. Okay, miracle? I think so. Then they conceive this baby. They conceive a miracle baby, Horus, who then once Osiris then passes on and he goes to the underworld, and they remain in union, even though he is dead and she is not. And I like to think she had other lovers. You know, I don't think you need to be celibate forever, but you do have to come to this state of purity so that you can be infiltrated by spirit in a way that actually creates something new. It's similar to the Jesus mythology, right? Where it's like God gave her a baby, and it's like, you know, who knows what actually happened, but in the mythology of it, it actually is this divine union, this divine devotion to love, not to making him perfect and back to life. It's actually when she was devoted. So we have all done 28 degrees, Isis and Venus. This is the end of that cycle that we've been talking about, where Venus has been going retrograde a ton and a ton since 2012 until now. Venus has gone through major retrograde cycles to try to pick up the pieces and try to discover the pieces and try to remember and try to figure out what's missing. And I think now that she's at 28 degrees Pisces with Venus, she realizes that what she's done is enough. And it's time to lay down with all the pieces that you've put together and stop trying to keep putting things together in a certain way, and really lay with the work that you've done and lay with the things that you've been devoted to. And without doing that much, and you know, as Aries season continues, there will be more.
Miracle is coming.
Right. There's a miracle available. So don't keep doing, searching, pushing, trying. You're going to miss the miracle. So the miracle here is actually, or I think the way that we're being guided here is that even though it's Aries season, and even though we got a lot of Mercury energy, we got a Mars energy, we got a lot of, there's a lot of like fire and action and air in the sky. We're being asked to just take it a little bit slow, because there's miracles on the other side of that stillness, of that connection to spirit. There are things that we can't possibly see or imagine based on our viewpoint that are coming for us that we can't control. She wasn't like, okay, here we go, I'm gonna fuck my dead husband and have a miracle baby. She actually just surrendered to the fact that she only had the pieces of him that she had. She was proud of herself for finding the pieces she did, and she laid with him. And she birthed this child who, you know, he has his own mythology, but, you know, right now we have Horus and Osiris, the miracle child, and the that Osiris, that divine masculine dickless energy, LOL, together at 14 degrees of Pisces. And so now there's this reconnection between the adult masculine and perhaps adult dickless masculine, the spirit masculine, and the child that is produced from spirit, and they're kind of reconnecting. There's some father-son time happening where the kid who has felt disconnected, the inner child in all of us who has felt disconnected from the adults, or felt betrayed by our parents, or felt that we were carrying the weight of our parents' baggage and our parents' karma. There's this epic like inner family healing going on where we can actually go, oh, okay, we're whole, we're good. Even if I can't see you, I'm with you. And, you know, you might be getting messages from the divine. Dead people might start talking to you. You might start getting weird, you know, especially because Mercury and Pallas are still in Pisces. So Mercury is our thoughts, our communications. Pallas is like change in strategy, a shift in the way that we're doing things so that we have a different outcome, right? She's like the feminine war goddess. She was in the room with the men. She was quiet for a while. And then she was like, okay, now that I've listened, here's what I think. And she brings a whole new strategy. So the way that we're thinking about spirituality, the way that we're thinking about higher love, higher connectedness, the way that we are being about the things that we think that we have lost, or the things that we think that we need to own or surrender or whatever, it's just kind of like lay down with it and let this Aries season percolate through you, and let there be totally Jesus style. Who knows? Maybe there will be a resurrection of something that you have counted out. You don't know. So if you can really surrender to the I don't know and just focus North Node in Gemini with the moon, with Mars, if you can just focus on getting to know yourself in relationship to your community and getting to know your community, there's so many miracles on the other side of that. And then on March 26th, I believe, Mars is going to move past the North Node. So there's going to be this shift in energy. We've had all of these planets on one side of this nodal axis for a while now. There's going to be a shift when Mars moves on the 26th, right before the next full moon. Come to the moon, you will LOL. It's going to be great. But then we're gonna kind of get more messages about how to move forward and what actions to take and what we actually need to do. Right now, there's not that much to do. You might have that feeling of like Aries season rebirth. Where are the fucking flowers? I gotta plant, I gotta fight, I gotta do my shit. Nah. Lay with all the things that you've created, lay with all of the successes, all of the failures, all of the feelings, and just let spirit in and be with everything that is, and have gratitude for the whole journey, even if it's been fucked up or hard or painful, because there's a miracle on the other side. The thing about Isis is that she does represent, sort of the love that can be born and the things that can be recreated out of trauma and out of these traumatic experiences. So I think we're all going through an ancient remembering, specifically from ancient Egypt. So anybody that's like a light worker now probably does have ancient Egyptian. We are the old Sumerians, we're the old ancient Egyptians. We are one, and the spirits are, the souls are recreating. And if you're an old Nicole and I, we are old ladies. We are old androgynous ladies. We've been on, or this is our last life. This is it. Okay, we're gonna be on the higher dimension next time. So we are leading our moon community of spiritual light workers who are also ancient souls and star seeds and it's like, oh, I'm not crazy, I'm ancient, and I do have residual memories, whether they're coming through your literal generational family line or not. We are all connected, and there's an ancient Egyptian remembering that is happening, so that we can actually let those old stories go, and then we can create a new future based on messages from the fucking aliens and based on things that we can't even imagine right now, because we really don't know what's possible, because we've been steeped in so much trauma. Now it's kind of like, hey, here are the products of these traumatic generational experiences, and we're going to move forward powerfully with our miracles, because anything is possible, and we got to surrender. We got to surrender the shit that we don't know and the shit we can't do.
Right. And the last thing I'm talking about being sleepy, I think now that you've talked about Isis, you put it together for me of why we're so sleepy this Pisces season. Yeah. It's an extra sleepy one for me too. And I've been coming onto a lot of new energy. But the reason why is because we're not supposed to be focused on what's missing. We really have to go to bed in order for the miracle to occur, because the miracles happen when we least expect it. When we're not looking, the magic really happens behind the scenes. So you actually have to rest. And that has been coming up in order to allow your brain to create those new synapses that don't come from suffering. And they come because you're choosing to heal, like Praxis was talking about. Yeah, that is coming up. Why we choose suffering instead of healing. A lot of the times it's because we keep going and going and going, and we think that we're choosing healing by continuing to put the work in. And in reality, if we went to bed, our brain would do the work. Literally, our actual synapses in our brain would rewire themselves, because it happens when we sleep. And when we sleep and we wake up, we have a new lease on life. That's why every day really is a brand new day. So much is happening within your actual body. When you're asleep and you are choosing to rest, even when things are not perfect, accepting what has happened, accepting what has transpired is a big part of the reprogramming process. The only way to choose healing is to do healing, but the healing actually is quiet. Healing actually is not as much quote unquote work as you think it is. But now with that being said, so I'm going to go into the cards now for all of the signs. So let's just see what's going to come up with the themes. I'll talk a little bit on the astrology as well.
Wait, really quickly, I think one thing I want to say, Marguerite asked a good question. She said, what do we do with our stardom, right? So I love that question. I have my own answer, and the answer is just fucking do it big on the Moonual every other week on Zoom until we can be in real life again. But what do you think? What do you think we do with our stardom?
Right. Well, I think when we look at the Leo Aquarius axis, we're talking about stardom, right? So we forget that Aquarius is the star card in the tarot, right? And the star card actually represents hope. It's not about you saying that you're not who you are and you're not talented. No, you can have that Leo pride in yourself, but you have to remember your stardom is not for you alone. That's the only thing that you're going to be doing with your stardom, is realizing that every time you put out your talents, it's to also help the next person and to put somebody else on and to show them their potential, to show them their capability. When you lead with your stardom, right, for other people, instead of in a selfish, right, Cleopatra, South the Node, Sagittarius way, which is, well, I am the only star. So because I am the star, you all have to listen to me because you can never be like me. The truth is your stardom is showing everyone else that they can be like you, to invite people to be like you, to go down that path in order for them to find their individual sense of being, so that they have a new option, and instead of beating them down saying that, you know, you are the star and they are not. So we are healing our egos in that way, in a big way.
Yeah, it's like the way that you use your talent. And that's what Vesta opposite Mercury also is getting us super clear about. The way that you use your talent is for service. And the way that you use if you're a fabulous comedian, then you use the ability to be funny about whatever, to talk about important shit, or to build an online moon community, or to, you know, if you're a fabulous painter, you paint, you share your art, and it is healing to people because it's resonant. It, you know, the way that it's not don't be a star, it's everyone's a star. And it's if you can have the confidence to break away from these old karmic systems and the 3D reality that we're all relating to as real life. Now, I'm not saying, and that's why I practice, you know, Alyssa, if you're in the mood, I sent you the link if you want to join, because after Nicole does cards, I'd love your take. So Alyssa, who's in the chat, is a fabulous astrologer, but she's also, her earth job is that she's a community organizer. Oh my God, yes, wait, she's arrived. Oh my God, okay, so this is, I would like your take, Alyssa, because you know, there is this like, oh my God, yay! Oh my God, I love the Moonual. I love the Moonual. Welcome. Hell yeah. Okay, so we'll let her join now, and I'll give her intro before she arrives. But Alyssa's a community organizer. So I'm interested in this, you know, this idea of like, how do we use the divine to continue to work with spirit and make real life changes? Because like, we do need to address inequalities on this planet, because it is about sustainability. And Alyssa, we can, if you want to jump in now, we can do the cards after, so feel free, you don't have to wait, because I would love your fucking take on this, because it's like, you know, what is that? Oh my God, yes, bitch, welcome.
I actually really want to hear what Nicole has to say about the Sabian symbols, because
which one?
I want to hear you pull, and then maybe we can get into Mars on algal.
Yes.
And yes, I can talk a little bit about maybe
so much to discuss. I'm so glad you're here, dude. Yes. You see, guys, this is the point, though.
This is the community that we're talking about.
Right.
This isn't Sarah's astrology reading for the collective. This is our astrology reading from the collective, for the collective. It's so much better when we get Nicole's take and Sarah's take and Alyssa's take, and when we get to Alyssa's a star astrologer. What's cool about the three of us too is that Alyssa has a totally different focus. Like, I'm so focused on the asteroids and about like the like, I love a storyline. I love, you know, I am a Leo Mercury. I love the drama of the storyline, right? Nicole is this like channel for the collective. She has this really wonderful knowledge of timing and business and the future of the collective in terms of money, and then her readings are fucking dope as shit. And Alyssa has this other perspective where she's really a traditional, like, she is studied. She's the best student out of all of us. Let me tell you, Nicole and I, we make
hell yeah. Hell yeah.
We need Alyssa here because she has credentials, right? We're doing like intuitive stoner astrology, whereas Alyssa's like, I'm in school. So we need you to actually give us like, so it's not that like Alyssa being here doesn't take away from Sarah and Nicole's reading. No, it's way better. It's way better.
Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, on my Twitter, I was talking about the Moonual because I was just like, this is a model about how community should be, because like, Sarah, you have like that evolutionary asteroid outlook. Nicole, you have that like modern psychological like understanding. And like, I know that y'all are saying that you're doing stoner astrology, but also
it's also just,
you know what you're fucking talking about.
We're also just
exactly.
We want to play comedy, play stoner, so that the people that are like, I'm not an ancient being and I don't know what you're talking about. It's a comedy show and you can get stoned.
Right, like, I can't do that past life shit. Like, y'all have like talent, and so like, I'm just really excited to listen in and be up here, and also like model how like we should work together instead of being like, you don't do astrology my way. Like,
right.
Well, we should do astrology together.
I feel like, Alyssa, you're so cool, because every time I talk to you, I'm like, wow, I just like learn something. Like you, whereas like I'm so focused on like the personal and like the past life and the karma and the storylines and the emotions. I'm a Cancer Capricorn. You know, like I love looking back. I love the past, right? But you're like really focused. See, that's why I think you're an interesting part of this conversation. That's why I invite you to every single Moonual, because you bring a third perspective that's so important, which is like, how do we actually take the collective forward using really strong, like you're like, the way that, like Nicole's a scientist in the way that she can just talk about things that are completely esoteric and make them seem like they make sense. You're like, you're actually like, there's a thesis about this angle. There is when you're talking to me about perfections and all, and I'm like, oh, I kind of know, but you know, you have this really, you're like a lab scientist, like going like, okay, what are the actual ingredients? What does this really mean for the collective? What does this really mean in terms of like the literal, like ancient Hellenistic sort of like technical perspective? And that is something both Nicole and I don't really do. And we like, the more we know, the better, you know? So, okay. So maybe we'll do like, Nicole, you can pull, and then we'll come back and we'll talk more astrology.
Sounds good.
Hell yeah. Oh my God. Bitch.
Okay, cool. Okay, so let's get into some cards. We're gonna start with Aries. Happy birthday to all my Aries. Oh, we got Venus coming into your sign basically tomorrow.
Whoop.
And for me, this brings up a lot of big self-care, self-love vibes. So we're talking about like, how are you actually looking at yourself, your identity this season for an Aries? Where are the places you want to start over? But it really is about you. Like, where are the places that you absolutely need to re-identify with and really start over with yourself? Especially when it goes over Chiron. So let's see what comes up for my Aries people. And this is where things take a life of its own. If you don't know about my readings, I came up with this chart system, which isn't something I came up with, right? This is just literally a blank nail chart.
And she's going to start painting them, and we're going to start selling them on the Moonual.
So I pulled cards over a blank chart just to see and give my Virgo Jupiter brain more details to piece this channel information together with. And I allow the cards to fall out on their own. So we're going to give it a second as we do that. What is the message, the main message or theme for Aries? All right, cool. So second and third house. And it's the sun. Well, okay. So I really feel like for Aries, this season is about reintroducing yourself to your community and reintroducing the way you speak on behalf of yourself. And it does take its roots in whatever foundational aspects for you are changing, wherever like your morals have been in question, and not being hard on yourself for maybe coming to terms with a strategy or a approach that you've taken in relationships or in basically any area of your life that you realize now was coming from pain and was coming from a deep sense of lack either in abundance or a lack in confidence. And now really sitting with yourself, and instead of fighting you're actually just coming into this higher and brighter awareness. And that's going to be because you actually display your wound for other people. And that is that Chiron energy. So if you find a group of people, maybe it is on Zoom, maybe it is the Moonual, maybe it's like, you know, AA, whatever your issue is, and find a group of people that you can sit with that are waiting for you to talk about the pain that you've been going through, even if it was just in 2020.
I'm pretty sure it's the Moonual.
Definitely, we accept you at the Moonual, Aries. So you can come on down. So for the Aries, like put your strength to the test, really embody your wound, talk about it in very safer and new environments, not with the same people, not with your family who you've been trying to talk to about this for your whole life, or your old friends that you've been trying to explain yourself to. This is about going out there and finding a new set of people that aren't that far away from you. You might just be one person away from a brand new community. So explore that. And don't be scared. You're going to get an automatic sense of peace and an automatic sense of, wow, like I actually belong and I feel free. So it is like a freeing this season for Aries, which I think is dope. I think you guys need that sense of freedom. Okay, now for Taurus. So Taurus, as we were talking about before, Uranus is there, still shaking things up. Lilith is there, bringing out the idea of your body being valuable more than you've already felt it is, and really looking at the rest of the physical aspects of your life, and are you connected to it? Are you connected to it? Or have you lost it? Have you been hoarding? There's this sense of like hoarding things and attachments. And with Taurus, this is a real big, like, it's time to clean. And Knight of Coins, especially for spring, right? So it is big spring cleaning vibes. Knight of Coins is also a Earth card, and it's falling out in the 9th house. So there's a bigger investment I would suggest for Tauruses to invest into something that they hadn't before. It could be an actual skill, like it could be a physical skill, or it could be a investing more into your own chart, like learning that, investing into a new class though. Go on Skillshare and look that up, and there could be something on your mind that takes a little bit of money, takes a little bit of time, and you're getting that green light to actually do it. Uranus will definitely support it, especially if it seemingly does not fit into any of the other things you've learned, and it almost feels like it might take you away from that path. Actually, what you'll find is investing into some kind of form of learning that is separate or different from what you're already doing is the missing piece. It's that miracle energy we were talking about. Whereas for Aries, the miracle energy is really embodying and speaking on the wound with the new group of people. For Taurus, it's really putting some actual money and time, or maybe just yourself, right? Giving yourself, offer it to a space where you get to actually teach instead of. So for you, it's not putting your wound on display, but it's maybe you're the teacher. Maybe you're the one putting in your time for free somewhere to teach someone about something that they didn't know they needed to learn. Put that out there for Aries season. That's the action that is required for the Tauruses to use this energy in its best and highest for yourself. And that's the thing to remember, that Aries season in general, of course, is about action. So it is about now, and especially with Mars and Gemini there, allowing us to feel the push next to that North Node on what are the better actions to take and what are the actions that are almost empty or useless. So now for Gemini, that we're talking about it, you have the influence of Mars and use it to your best advantage. I think all Gemini energy it goes so fast, right? Gemini season is one of my favorite seasons because when you blink your eyes, like the season's already over. And it was like, what just happened? But then when you look back a few months later, you're like, whoa, Gemini season is when I met that person for a brief second that ended up being so influential and so important, like a few months later down the line. So similarly, it may not be Gemini season, but Mars is there kind of revving things up. And then what does that mean for you? So we have the 11th house, mostly the 12th house, and you guys got two cards, and it's a little interesting. So there's the Empress, and then there is 10 of Swords reversed. So, and this is falling out in the 12th and a little bit of the 11th house. Now, with that being said, there are some nurturing qualities or places that you realize that you may not have nurtured yourself in a very spiritual, broader sense, that you could have been very hard on the information that you've been trying to put out there, the things that you've been speaking on. So there is this like larger pain that's trying to be pushed out with that Mars energy. But the wound comes from ignoring. Now, of course, now we got like sirens, right? So how does that apply? The wound comes from knowing that there was, or glossing over this aspect of being fertile in every area of your life. There's parts of your life that have not been attended to and that are waiting for you to bring water and bring light to that area. And it seems a little dark, but the Empress is not really dark. That there is on the other side this wealth that has been ignored and has been overcompensated with the first house. Like it's a lot of overcompensating in how you go out into the world. And it's been such an emphasis on pushing things out that things got rerouted. And now it really is up to you to go back into your dream world and go back into your subconscious and see the places that were there with you the whole time. This is basically saying this whole time you had the right energy and you had the energy to really birth something new. And this Aries season, you get to identify where your pain is and really sit within that with yourself alone. And the thing with Geminis is that like it's always about the conversation with others, and it's always about the back and forth and going over it, even if you're not taking the other person's advice. But for Aries season, really make a practice around before you wake up. I mean, not before you wake up, when you wake up and before you go to bed, and set yourself up to monitor what happens in your dreams, monitor what's happening behind the scenes of your brain, and don't run to other people to make sense of it. So it's like, take a step back to use this Mars energy solely on yourself, and just look around to all of the different places and different communities that you've had to get pulled towards, and how now you, in a sense, you're back to where you started, but where you started was so full. It was a full place to be. There was a lot of emotions that were not being addressed, a lot. So address those emotions with yourself first. Don't rush to doing it with everyone else. And that is action. And that is still taking action, which I think for, that kind of energy, it doesn't feel like action. So it always feels like something on the outside has to happen, but it really is a go within and address those emotions that you've ignored. And really be honest about telling yourself that you could have gave this to yourself. You could have made yourself happy, but where were you looking for happiness in someone else? Okay, so now we're moving on to Cancer. For all the Cancer people out there, Pluto is still opposite your sign.
Whoop, whoop.
And we got a lot of energy in Pisces trining. So what's going on? Okay, the Hangman and the Hangman in 3rd and 4th house. So now we got this topic of patience and waiting, right? There is a lot to wait for. Cancer is another energy that is, well, it's cardinal, so it's always moving forward and it's always trying to do. Looks like this Pisces season could have brought in some harmonious feelings and or harmonious visions for yourself, but they're not there. You're not actually in them. And kind of similar to Gemini, but not completely, where as Gemini needs to now stop talking and talk to themselves, Cancer also needs to go out and really listen to everyone else. It's not about talking either. It's like taking the lead where you are a little quiet, right? There is a lot that could have been said that you haven't been saying either. But for you, it's really listen to other people now, fully give them the space to share, and keep your reactions to yourself. This is like a period where you're gonna have to learn to let those Cancer feelings that want to spill out of you without your actual body being taken over by the mood. It's separating your body from your emotions. And that's harder, a lot harder said than done for a Cancer. But if you can put that into practice this season, what you're going to find is is you're gonna hear people say that things that they've been telling you all year, but this season they're gonna click. And this season you're gonna be able to forgive. There's some kind of forgiveness. But you have to open your ears and open your mind and really bind your hands and keep yourself in one position in order to allow the other people to retell you their stories, so that this time you can develop a way deeper sense of compassion for these other people that maybe you felt like have done you wrong. Maybe you felt like have cheated you. But compassion, yeah, practice compassion and allow others the space, whether they deserve it or not. Hold yourself back a little, allow other people the space to release onto you and really listen, because this time around it's going to feel differently. Even if it was the same story they've been giving you for 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, this time it's going to change something for you. And I think it does have to do with, you won't be working it from your wound anymore, but your wound is at play during this season. Okay, so Leos. So for all the Leos out there, we got the 4th and the 5th house. The 5th house originally is your house. And this is the Chariot. The Chariot. So I think this is a really great card because it's saying that you're actually going to get out of your house more. You're actually going to get out of your comfort zone. And there is going to be way more options for you this Aries season to take the spotlight again. And this time with a brand new set of people, like with just maybe it's just a new creative idea, and maybe it's just a new creative understanding, or it could be a person, it could be like a love that is expressed as love in your life coming in this season, or just picking up faster. So expect that to happen faster, and expect yourself to put your energy out there in a very expressive way that will really fill you up and allow for, because this Aries season for you, the snowball is just starting, but it's almost a fast start, but expect that energy to stay. So after Aries season, you won't have to do as much because the ball's already rolling, but you're really like hopping. You're really just, those first few steps are just got to be mindful, because this season, the way that you put out your energy is the same way you're going to be putting out your energy every month after this for this year. So yeah, and if it's a brand new idea, or if it's a person that's coming into your life, give it a little more attention, and this just really put your heart out there more into it, and it's just it really is gonna snowball. So that's good to see, and I'll leave it there for Leos. Then we go to Virgos. So for the Virgos, what is happening for y'all? Okay, so we got Ace of Wands in the 9th house. Always interesting when you see some of the same houses appear. It really could fall anywhere. The Ace of Wands in the 9th house, meaning that, okay, you actually cultivated completely something creative into something that's also passion-based, and now you absolutely have learned everything you need to learn from it. And you are in that space where, okay, you can give back from that place now. And it speaks for itself. So it's like everything you've learned up until this point, know that you have officially really mastered something. And this Aries season, you're just taking a new evolution on it. So it's not like starting something new, but it is, you may or may not meet somebody very important to everything you've studied and learned. So if it's, for example, like you really master something in work, and now you need to put your resume out there to go find a better job, this is a great time to take action on that. Trust that you know everything that you need to know, that even if you still feel inadequate, which is something that Virgos can do best sometimes with themselves, still feel like there's more, still feel like they're not good enough. This is saying that you're actually better than some of the other bests that are out there. But you really have to trust that, and you really have to put it into action. So let your insecurities and inhibitions die, and to really birth this new path for yourself that is going to bring you much more inspiration and much more motivation, because it seems like you could already have the finances to like putting itself together or together. But this is going to take an evolution in that, in whatever creative work and passionate work you've been doing. Okay, Libras. Let's see what I got for myself. So 5th house and 6th house, which has to do with what we are creating, and then has to do with our work on a day-to-day basis, right? Or our health. So let's see. 5 of Swords. 5 of Swords. So this is saying, don't lie to yourself. Don't lie to yourself on what you know you need to work on. Don't lie to yourself on what you know is missing from everything that you're trying to build as well. And even from your expression, don't hold back. There's a lot that you could possibly be holding back or not saying. And know that this season is not the time, Aries season, which is opposite of Libra, it's not the time to play Libra. It's really the time to say it all like it is every single time the opportunity comes up, and get ready for how other people are going to feel, because there are going to be people who absolutely can't see this change in you. They can't see where you have grown. And in a lot of ways, it's because you, Libra, have shelved your growth. This is not the time to shelf your growth. And yeah, I'm talking to myself. I'm talking to myself with that one. So don't shelf your growth, Libra, and really tell them the energy of this season is going to support that. Now you're going to feel everything. You're going to hear all of the thoughts in the other people. You're going to get those criticisms, and you're going to have to deal with it in the moment, but you're equipped now to handle it. And don't play yourself. That's the big lesson. Don't play yourself. Like, everything you don't say this season will come to bite you in the ass in Libra season at the end of the year. Okay, Scorpios, interesting. So in the 7th and 8th house for Scorpios, Queen of Coins fell out. So the 7th and the 8th house, yes. There have you. The question is, well, Queen of Coins is a badass energy. And for Scorpio, which is a badass energy in itself too, and 8th house is already your home, but this kind of fell mostly in the 7th house, meaning that in all of the places that you have not been able to assert what exactly you want, right? Which I find Scorpios, they do that. But a lot of the times there are Scorpios that kind of conform a little more to the relationship because they believe that if they put their foot down for what they want now, that they might lose that person or lose that thing. So this is kind of like saying, yeah, there is, you gotta put it all out there, and you have to show what you have, and you have to actually put what you have, like the things that you bring to the table in a relationship. You have to display those things as well. You can't keep it in the dark. It's not a secret energy anymore. People can see it. People can see what you've gained, and now they're gonna address you from a place of what you have gained. So keep that energy up. Keep business relationships. If you have people around you and they have already presented them to themselves to you as business, don't get it confused if you start to feel like, a little sexual energy come up, right? If you start to feel like, well, do I like this person, or is this person trying to get more from me? Or if they switch up their agenda on you all of a sudden, don't trust that. Keep your business relationships. And in terms of relationships that you want to be romantic or friendships, make sure you're stating that right away. Don't let there be any lingering confusion. State your desires. As much as you want to keep them to yourselves, you're strong enough now to walk away or cut it off if need be. So state your desires in the beginning. Don't let someone play the guessing game with what you want. from them, and don't let them switch up their agenda on you. Make sure you check other people to be like, well, you came to me for business, so no, I'm not going to go meet up with you to sell you this thing for $40. It's like, no, I'm going to mail it to you because this is the professional real way to do this, and we're going to stick to the script of that.
No more casting couch.
Yeah, definitely. So that is for Scorpios for Aries season. Now we're moving on to Sagittarius. Also, yeah, you can look for your sun and your rising and even your moon of how it applies when you're looking at these. Okay, 8 of coins and the 6 and 7 for Sagittarius. So for Sagittarius, especially because the South Node is still there and it's opposing Mars and it's opposing the North Node, this is continued focus in any area of your life, right? And I mean, it's falling on the 6th house. So it's like, keep up with the keeping up. This Aries season, you'll find your focus supercharged and you'll be setting up how you work for the rest of the year. So how you work this month is very up to you. How much you work is also up to you. And you're able to shelf things that have not been working to focus more solely on intently on what does. And it really is a straightforward one for Sagittarius. It's like, don't get caught up in, you can't escape, right? You can't. If you play the escape role this Aries season, you're probably going to get hit with that Chiron wound and you're going to have to force to go back to work, but now you're going to be working with like a sad face and you're going to be working with everything built up in your mind, and you're going to have people hitting you up trying to do all types of things. But this is really mind what your goal is. Like these goals that you cannot actually go on the adventure and do right now during the South Node and Sag time, it's for a reason. It's because if you were to attempt to do that now, it would be so half-assed. The vision would come out half-assed. The magic isn't done. But this magic isn't just happening behind the scenes. This is everything you do with your hands. This is everything you actually consciously get up to do in the day and face. And yeah, don't sleep on your health either, because your routine around how you're working and how much work you're putting in to whatever vision it is, and it could be very basic. This doesn't have to necessarily be creative ventures or matters. It could just be, yeah, you want to get more financially secure. So save, right? And how much are you saving on a day-to-day basis? And how are you developing that plan for yourself? It's a lot of planning, but planning may seem like nothing's happening too, but this planning for you is a lot bigger. And this plan is going to set itself in motion more towards the end of the year. So
remember, I just had a baby with a dead dick husband.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on from Sagittarius, we got Capricorn. What's going on with Capricorn? Pluto is still there, so it's not completely over yet. Things are still being short. Okay, a lot of stuff is coming out for Capricorn. So I'll read both. We have Judgment in the 12th and the 1st house. So it really is with Pluto at its last degrees. It really is quite literally the sense of judgment. I don't know if you can see this card or not, but for Aries season, it's more of monitoring, and it's more about seeing how people have been affected by you, and pay attention to whatever opportunities or unexpected events happen during Aries season, because it really is a direct reflection of how much inner work have you actually challenged yourself to do or not. And you're just kind of getting answers this season, and these answers are going to be big, important for you as you move towards the rest of the year, because you will then be able to develop new questions, right? New questions, new things to seek out of these answers that have came up. But if kind of similar to a few of the other signs, if you are, or just the whole Pisces season transitioning to Aries, if you're so focused on the work and you're so focused on what's the next thing to do and the next thing to do, then you are not properly seeing whether or not what you're doing is actually worth it, is actually good for other people, is actually good for the world. Is it actually good for yourself? Because you can be so blind to the way you're presenting yourself and the stuff that you see is on the surface of what you're doing. Let's say you're a activist, or you're somebody trying to work for the world, and you feel like, yeah, I'm doing all this good work, right? But you're not paying attention to what's happening in your personal life. Like, your personal life right now is trying to show you the value of what you're putting out. So if what's happening in your personal life is a mess, then you need to reevaluate what you're actually doing on that world stage, what you're doing for your career. And then King of Coins fell out in the 3rd and 4th. So this is going to be a direct correlation of almost also how much money you make and how much money you're able to make for others, how much of your foundation is going to be stable or not. So if good things have been happening, you sit back for a second and you take a look at what you have, and it's only in your personal, the world stage might be falling apart, but your personal life is actually working, and your family loves you, and you're spending more time with them, then you're going to realize that this foundation you've created is very strong, and you'll get to share in on that wealth and feel the wealth come back to you in a way that you've been looking for. That is way more personal. That is more personal and deeply fulfilling in a emotional sense, which is that opposite Cancer kind of feels. So yeah, really monitor what happens. Just take stock of the events and what's your personal life feeling like. Is it, is there a void? Are there things missing? So then is the work you're doing on the surface for others, it's missing something. Like, take that personal life as a direct answer to what is happening for you in terms of your career and what you're putting out there and where you're striving towards. Okay, interesting. So now we have Aquarius. Let's see what's going on for Aquarius. Still so much energy in Aquarius. I won't even get too deep into that, but let's see what you guys need to remember. What does Aquarius need to know for Aries season? Right, it's that energy of the star, like we were talking about, and now moving into this bigger Age of Aquarius vibe, this collective understandings, and with Saturn there. Okay, looks like we got more 3rd house energy. So I think the trine for Aquarius is a big deal. And I'm sure we'll talk about that in praxis. We'll definitely talk about that because 3rd house came up and the Chariot came up. So the Chariot, 3rd house for Aquarius, which really is like touching on that North Node energy for you guys. So there's a larger vision, and it encompasses a lot of people, and don't set yourself up for failure. Don't set yourself up for failure because there are, of course, Jupiter is there with you guys. So yes, there's a lot of opportunities. Yes, there's going to be more opportunities on top of the one that's right here, right now. So don't think because something just came in that it's it. Okay, this is it. This is what came in. And I'm not going to see anything else flourish or anything else. I need to just do this. Keep paying attention to everything that comes, but don't allow the opportunities to change your larger vision. Focus not so far ahead. Focus on what you can do within your space, within your city, within your state. Don't focus on the outcomes of all the visions that are coming in and all the work that finally you're getting praise on. Finally, people are recognizing you. People are seeing what you have to say. But don't go so far yet. The further things require more trust. The immediate surroundings around you, your immediate group of friends, your immediate environment, that still needs all the focus. This is where you're supposed to start. So how can you bring the vision into what's around you? Let's say it literally is just your apartment, right? How can you bring that bigger vision of what you see for yourself into your apartment right now? and work that energy first, because the thing with the Aquarius energy is you can get so caught up on making something larger happen that you can then say like give up and scrap it and be like on to the next thing, because you know what, that larger vision, I haven't met the person to execute that yet, so I'm gonna let that go and I'm gonna go find a whole new idea and a new group of people.
I love that there's like dying cats or something in the background where it's like, don't get distracted, Aquarius.
Right, it's like don't get distracted, but it's a group of people outside.
Oh, it's okay. Sounded like dead cats.
And it sounds like dying cats, right? And it's like a group of people, like, and they're not saying anything that makes any sense. It's just like moans and laughs and like grunts. So and that's the collective calling. The collective is always there, and the people are always there. And I think that's what it is too. It's like, don't forget that you don't want to get so caught up in the larger vision, because a lot of the people around you, they're going to try to come with you, or they're going to be trying to hop on your chariot. And it's like, well, if you keep these things kind of to not completely solely to yourself, but you're only working on what you have, then you won't have to deal with hordes of people trying to be like, well, take me and where are we going and what are we doing? Right now, it still is about you. Right now, it is not so much about dealing with the whole collective. You just know that everything you're doing and everything that you're building is to encompass a lot more people. But right now, it's still about you. Remember that. Aries season is about you. Don't get caught up in the furthest vision, Aquarius. Just make whatever can happen now. Make it happen. Small things first. And those things are going to really carry. Those things are the wheels to the chariot. Like, oh, wow, okay. Okay, we're not going to take all that. So for Pisces, I almost feel like I want to change this card to, yeah, I'm going another. We'll see what happens. That was Knight of Swords, but let's see if it comes out again.
What a hilarious Pisces thing too, to like the card pops out and it's like, wow, this actually doesn't make sense.
Like, nah, I'm not feeling it. Wow, okay. Just straight into the third house again. Like, so there is a lot of emphasis on this Gemini energy right now. So I'm curious to see what we're going to end up talking about. So 6 of Cups for Pisces in the third house. So this really is saying that there are going to be a lot of opportunities to regress. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for you to get way too caught up in the nostalgia. And with that being said, it's like identify your past, but learn this season, put into action how to identify the past without over talking about it and without over getting into nostalgia. You don't have to play your whole playlist from 2005. You can just play one song and then move on. It's like honor the past. For Aries season, because there will be some like influence still in Pisces, honor the past, but remember where you are and why the past matters, right? Every time you think of the past, also honor where you are. Don't put the emphasis on, well, I wish I was there and I wish that was happening for me, and I miss this person, and I really, really love my cat. My cat is dead. Like, it's like, yes, all of that matters, and the love is real, and you can honor that. But it is remembering where you are so that these loops don't start to play themselves out again. Because what will happen is if you get too caught up in the karmic, nostalgic loop of the past, then you're going to start to see during this season that you're not able to take that leap forward, and that you will get it caught up in the downside of the death instead of the death to rebirth. So yeah, remember that. Like, yes, there's some lingering Piscean energy, but we are in Aries season, so the nostalgia is over. But every time the memories come back up, just wish them well and thank yourself for that. But use the ideas of the past to remind yourself of how that is shaping you and how different you are right now from that memory from 2005 and 2006 and 2009 and 2012, because you're a different person. So always remember and force yourself to remember the person that you have become every time these nostalgic experiences come up. And especially if the people come up to talk to you, You don't have to have the conversation. You might have to choose to not have the conversation this Aries season. And you can see the past and honor and respect that they came to talk to you, someone from the past, or you want to go to someone from your past and have a conversation. You can say, you know what, I know I want to, but it is okay. Acknowledging it is enough, and walking away and allowing yourself to feel something new, something else.
You might find that your dead cat is actually sitting there on your chest.
Literally.
And you can have a baby. You can have a baby with it.
Okay, yay! So that's my pull for Aries through Pisces. I hope you get something out of it.
Yeah. Oh my God, Nicole, that was so perfect. I fucking loved it. I hope everybody got what they needed out of it. Please feel free to, ask questions in the chat or shout out what your sun, moon, rising are or whatever it is. Now, the first thing I want to say, Marguerite posed a really interesting question in the chat, which is, okay, so she said, let's see. She says, can you talk about the word privacy and what that means right now? Is this a time to respect privacy? Now, as somebody with no boundaries and no privacy, I am not the one to speak on this. But as a super Aquarian, Alyssa, you may have some thoughts. What do you think? And also you have to unmute yourself, LOL.
Yeah. I am going to share my screen.
Yes.
All right. Can y'all see this chart that I've pulled?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Purple, so much cuter than ours. I want to use what software is that?
This is Luna Astrology. It's $3 a month. It makes these
shit.
really cute charts.
Love.
Yeah. And so first off, talking about privacy, if you are a Gemini rising, then this Sun in Aries means that the Sun is going through your 12th house. And so, a lot of folks want 12th house transits as a time to rest. I also think with Saturn right here, Saturn in Aquarius, Saturn's in its domicile. So I use traditional astrology, and there's places where the planets are most comfortable. So Saturn really likes being in Aquarius, and it is trining. Mars is moving towards 120-degree angle with Saturn. And so that's an easy flow of energy. And Saturn representing our boundaries, Mars representing our will. What I want to say about privacy is that, assert those fucking boundaries. If you have to bark like DMX to be like, listen,
whoa,
listen,
let me be.
Right. But when we're thinking about, our boundaries, we also can't expect people to intuit our boundaries. And so if someone is just generally enthusiastic about you or wants to learn about you or is expressing interest, they might not know that they're being harmful. And so with this trine right here, with Mars moving towards Saturn in this Aries Ingress chart, I really challenge folks to, step forward and say what they want instead of expecting other people to just give it to them. And to create spaces for yourself. You have to advocate. Mars is the planet of our assertion, our drive, our will. And so we actually have to put that assertion out there in the world to create the space for ourselves and to, no one else is going to advocate for your own desires. So you actually have to learn how to advocate for those things. So that's kind of what I see about privacy in this Aries Ingress chart is really thinking about am I asking for what I want? And am I creating space for what I want? And am I talking to people and advocating for the things I want? I also
it's like you get to decide who you share what with. Like, don't lie out there in the world, but like set boundaries and let people in at your discretion.
let people in at your discretion, and also know that like what astrology has taught me, and it's taught I think a lot of other people, is that everyone's different, right? So it's like my needs are different than Sarah's needs, they're different than Nicole's needs. And so like one of my core needs might be like really solid alone time. And so when at the end of the day, like I'm gonna have like dedicated time where I shut the computer, I don't even look at my phone, and maybe I'm like baking, maybe I'm drawing, maybe I'm creating, maybe I'm processing my emotions, maybe I'm journaling. Sarah might need like a lot of social time after work, right? So
I need to
like
be on IG Live or YouTube Live all night.
right, and like needs to talk a lot. And so like our needs might not be the same, but we can still like vibe when like I want to talk and Sarah wants to chill. You know, like those are, you know, it's Saturn and Mars are incredibly different planets, but there's a trine, so it means that there's an easy facilitation of those energies. And so, you know, ignore the houses for now, just because this is the chart of Oakland, California. But we're going to look at Mars in Gemini, because what Mars is doing is applying to the North Node and applying to the moon when the sun went into Aries. And Mars is also moving towards a fixed star called Algol. And so with Algol is the story of Medusa, which like if you are a nerd, a mythology nerd, you know that Medusa, and if you look deep, Medusa was not a scary figure that the Greeks made her out to be. Medusa was like chilling with like these snakes, and like the warrior Perseus came in and attacked her as she was sleeping and cut off her head. And so for me, Algol doesn't represent, you know, Algol represents a woman wronged. Algol represents, you know, the times in which we might have been persecuted, or the times in which we have been wronged greatly, and retribution and also consequences. So with this Aries ingress, we really want to charge forward without actually thinking like, you know, the person that I want to engage in conflict with an appropriate person to engage in conflict with? And is this person, you know, like, does this person deserve all of my rage? Does this person deserve, you know, like, it's like when you break your foot and someone stubs your toe, you want to lose your shit because, like, you know, like it fucking hurts.
Such
But
a
that
good
person
analogy.
didn't
So
do
good.
it right. That person didn't do it on purpose, but they still hurt you. And so, how do you account for the hurt while also acknowledging that people might not have the intention? And so when I see Mars on Algol, it's really about like those kinds of narratives of like, you know, knowing when to fight and when to put the sword down.
Yeah. I mean, I also feel like Algol is like collective violence. Like it's, if you look historically, Algol is connected to a lot of historically violent. So it's like, it doesn't surprise me. It disheartens me, but it doesn't surprise me that we're seeing violence being played out in the culture in a way that it's like, it's unthinkable, but actually it is a mismanagement of emotions.
Right. And like, and also covering up of that violence. And so like, I do really want to acknowledge the, you know, like, I know this is a fun astrology thing, but I actually do really want to acknowledge the hate crime that happened
For real.
earlier this week, and that it was a racist anti-sex worker hate crime.
Yep.
And that I don't want to just attribute it to the transits because this is systemic, and systemic issues are all of the planets. People want to say,
Yes. Yes.
Capricorn is capitalism, this, and that. And it's like all the planets are working under the structure of capitalism right now. And so, but I do think that it's really interesting that we see the media, the American media, I want to say, covering up the racial nature of this crime.
Yeah.
And, if you look at international news outlets, they're reporting much more accurately. Like I had seen a thread of the Korean outlets that are giving more humanizing narratives to the victims of the hate crime. And I think like that's an algal story, right? Of what we see as a marginalized gender, the feminine, really taken, being persecuted.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we see Mars going towards the nodes, I also want to say that like people are really sleepy, but they're also not getting sleep.
Yes, facts.
Right, because like whenever I see like in Vedic astrology, the North Node and the South Node, they're supposed to be integrated, and they're called Rahu and Ketu. And Rahu is the head of the dragon and Ketu is the tail of the dragon. And so the head of the dragon always wants to eat. It's voracious. And so with Mars energy on top of this voracious part of our chart, it means that, like we especially need to take care of our nervous system. We especially need to, like, when we know we're getting hot, when we know we're getting aggressive, we need to like let it out in a way that feeds you. So it's like, if you love cycling, if you have like a way to do exercise while we're still in quarantine and getting our vaccines and stuff figured out, get that energy out, get pain out, right? Like some people might experience this transit as like pain in their bodies, inflammation, acne, like Mars does some shit, right? So, get your mask on and like listen to ragey emo music and just like let yourself rock out, get it out of your system,
Like process it.
And also like, it depends on what your natal Mars sign is. Maybe you're writing, maybe you're like in the shower and you're yelling at the shower. I know I rehearse conversations in the shower.
I've done that, telepathic for sure.
I actually am a pop star in the shower and I crush.
Right. And so I do not want to take up everyone's time, but
please do. Feel free.
But I also do want to talk about Venus in this chart, because we see that Venus is at 28 degrees Pisces. And Venus, we're going to click it because I love this software. So Venus and the Sun just had a conjunction. Venus just had a conjunction with Neptune, and Venus is heading towards Chiron in Aries. And so right now, Venus in this chart it's happy, right? Like Venus loves in traditional astrology, Venus loves being in Pisces. Venus is a celebrated guest in Pisces. Venus has everything she needs to be adorned, to be dreamy, to be the love interest. And she's preparing to go into Venus and Aries and shed the like dreamy like robe, like the fluffy see-through robe, and like don a machete. Like think about Xena Warrior Princess and like her relationship to like love and aesthetics. And so it's a little bit of a complicated relationship, but it is still badass. And we are going to see Venus go into Aries in the next few days, and our, it's like you love eating something, so you yell at it. Like you're making a cake. It's like that guy who, what is it? The Sham Wow guy who like is just like, holy shit, I love creating this fucking stuff. So like, so that's gonna be the vibe. So like really celebrate the things that embody Venus at, and also like if you're feeling a little extra spicy, like Venus is a lot hornier, honestly, in Aries.
Get a good vibrator.
Yeah, get a good vibrator. We love, self pleasure. As Venus heads towards Chiron, it is a good time for self-love and like, exploring things that you normally wouldn't during masturbation, just to reclaim some of like the things we're taught about our body. And so, if I know, as like all of us have experiences as women, if you've been embarrassed about your body making sounds during sex, if you've been embarrassed about, the way your body looks during sex, it's actually a good time to kind of like look in the mirror and be like, bodies are fucking normal. Like, it's normal. Sometimes you fucking queef. Like it happens.
Everybody has an O face.
Right. Everyone also has an O face. And so like, any kind of like mirror stuff, if you want to look in the mirror and kind of explore, like this is a good time to do that. And like, maybe you find someone who talks dirty with you about something sexual that you might have had shame around in the past, because Chiron is about healing that wound in a way that respects your autonomy. So I think that's what I got. I think I'm most excited about this Mars Saturn trine, to be honest, because I think we all need a good lesson in communication and boundaries.
Yeah, like Marguerite, you don't even know how psychic you are, because like the question is actually reflected in the chart. And like I also think with this Mars Saturn, there's sort of this, it's like okay, so like a year ago we were like, oh no, lockdown, what? And then in January, we had all of these challenges that were related to that Mars. There was a square between Saturn and Uranus. And I think Mars is coming and kind of activating that trouble spot. Like we all might have felt that there were things that we were up against in January that really like were like, why me? Or like, this is so hard, or how could this not be over? And now we have the opportunity to look at what we've, if I could give anybody a homework assignment, I would say like definitely do some journaling on your successes from this year. What have you created this year despite the odds, or in spite of the pandemic, or whatever came up for you this year, whatever racial injustices became clear, or whatever relationships ended, or whatever in your business seemed fucked, right? Take a look at actually now, why might it all be perfect? What might this be leading you to? I mean, I think sometimes it's hard because even with the transits, we want to see a transit and go, oh, okay, that's the transit and it's done. But just like your website and just like your identity and how you look on the outside, the chart never stops moving. The sun and the moon never stop moving. The planets never stop moving. And so these are ongoing, unfolding energies. And so there's no like done, and there's no there, but there may be kind of like a shift in the way that you're looking at what's happened over the past year. And you go, oh, wait a second. Because I think part of what also this moon, North Node, Mars sort of activation has us taking a look at, and I think it has a lot to do also with, now that we've had all this like super Piscean energy in the space, now that the sun has moved into Aries and Venus is going to follow, we are all much more mission. Like if before this plague you were like, what is my purpose? What do I do with myself? I hate my day job. I hate my boyfriend, whatever it is. Now, all of a sudden, the things, I mean, people are getting laid off and fired from jobs. They're going, oh my God, I'm super fucked. And it's like, no, you're not super fucked. What are the things that you did? What did you pay attention to when you had so much alone time during the past year? What are the things that you're actually secretly passionate about that you never thought could be a career? What are the things that seem so fucked up and difficult in January that actually now are starting to make sense. And even in all of the pain and all of the loss, there's like this opening for higher mission to come through. And you go, oh, I can do that. Anything is possible. We are trapped in this like 3D reality that's actually kind of it's been super limiting in the past. And so even if it feels like aggressive or violent, or you feel like I got to make some moves, but like you can't quite figure out what that move is yet, keep visioning on that ultimate mission and what the purpose of your iteration is, and you can look in your own chart where your North Node is, and you can look in your own chart where your Mars is, to kind of see what the relationship is between what you're really here to do. Your North Node is like, it's you talk about Rahu and Ketu, it's like there is this, we all have an easier time laying back into our past lives, into our South Node selves, and in this case into our Cleopatra. No, I am the queen of the world, and I can just like, exploit my body and exploit myself and hate myself, but like continue to look pretty on the outside, when really it's like, no, it's not even about what you look like on the outside. Slap on a Zoom filter if you need to, because there's inner work that's being done that's actually bringing you forward into the next iteration, not only of your life, but of what's going to happen long-term in the collective. It's so cool now. It's like, yeah, the Lego castle has all been knocked to the ground, and it turns out that it was a whack fucking architectural structure to begin with, but now you have all these Legos. So you have all these Legos to play with. And so whatever it is that you're like, I think this Lego palace should be a McDonald's, or I think this Lego palace should actually be a cave. And, and then and there's extra Legos, and then they become the cave people. And then you're actually building this whole new story and this new world. Right. Everyone playing their part to listen to the inner callings of their soul. Thank God I didn't just go like, I'm going to be a famous comedian and fuck everybody else. Thank God now I see it in my chart and everything, where it's like, no, my purpose is to bring the community together and to bring people together. And I'm not a leader for the sake of power. I've been a fucking little baby leader my whole life. It makes no sense. I've been like, sorry, I'm going to do the announcements regardless. And, sorry, I'm going to be, I was always fucking in charge of the group, without trying, without meaning to. And then, you spend your adult life, you go through your first sort of Saturn square around like 7 or 8, and then you start getting influenced by the world around you. And then you reach your Saturn return, and sort of everything feels like it's crashing to the ground that you've tried to build as a facade to fit into this society. But really, especially once your Saturn returns, if you can get a grip of your Saturn and the work, like my Saturn is in Sagittarius. My Saturn is at 3 degrees Sagittarius. And so I spent my life thinking, am I a genius, or do I have learning disabilities? School isn't for me, and then, and I was super early on, like creative visualization. I was always using these, I didn't know to call them spiritual tools at the time, but I was always I was buying my friends Shakti Gawain's spiritual visualization book, like from senior year of high school until the end of college. I probably sent that book, and if I sent it to you, I hope you read it. It was a gift from me to you, but I probably sent that book to like, I'm not even kidding, probably like 30 people have received that book back when I had thought I had a credit card, and I was, and I was just buying this book for everybody, because to me, when I unlocked the power of creative visualization, it helped me to stop seeing myself in this linear way of like, either I'm a bad student and an idiot, and with learning disabilities, or maybe I'm just different. And in fact, I'm actually the teacher, and I'm here to make teaching more fun. And I'm here to work with our belief systems and find different ways of thinking. That's my Saturn. But I spent 30 years going, man, I must be really fucking dumb, or man, I don't really fit into this world at all. And it's really not that I don't fit in, because it's really confusing for a leader to not fit in, right? But now it's like, oh, my North Node is in Aries in the 11th house. My Saturn is in Sagittarius. Oh shit. It all makes sense now. And then I have a Moon-Mars conjunction in the 8th house in Capricorn, which has always, when I started to learn about astrology, the minute you hear you have 8th house planets, you go, oh no, oh my God, okay, this is going to be horrible. This is going to be hard. And now I'm like, fuck yeah, I get to leverage my connection, my soul connection, my Moon in Capricorn connection to the structure and to the traditions. But my Mars is there with it going, yeah, but do it in a different way, and leverage your relationships and leverage your power. Don't abuse your power, and don't like have secret power and try to be manipulative. Actually use the fact that I am tuned in to what the collective are feeling and thinking, and even without being a one-on-one like reader or coach or whatever. And it's like when you can see your chart objectively, when you take it out of the feelings and the person you thought you were supposed to be with and the job description that you thought you were supposed to have and the person that you thought you were supposed to be that maybe really did start to crash in December and then really started to crash, like even like 2 Decembers ago. Like in January 2020, we kind of had the first of these collisions of these major planets that started to literally melt our 3D reality before our eyes, which is not a pretty sight. It comes with a huge amount of upheaval, a huge, it came with the pandemic. Kobe died. Australia was on fire. I mean, we forget that Australia was on fire. So much fucked up shit has happened that we literally forget about some of the other like we are so traumatized, right? So it's like, let's use that Isis energy, which is to persevere through trauma and actually continue to work on that higher vision of love and put whatever pieces we can back together, because it's going to make sense starting now in ways that we're like, oh, what's up, Danette? Welcome. But it's like, it's going to start to make sense in ways that we're like, oh, this wasn't just like fucked up for fucked up sake or hard for hard sake. This was hard and fucked up, and it brought us all to our knees. And it also equalized on some level. It showed us the massive discrepancy in financial matters, right? So we saw that the people that, Trump has coronavirus. Oh, okay. Well, he can just get all of the vaccine. Trump went to that fucking hospital and got pumped with all of the stem cell research that he's been preaching against to be taken care of, because he has enough money and he has enough resources, and ultimately he doesn't have that much integrity. So he doesn't really fucking care if actually he's standing on a platform saying we are against stem cell research and and in fact, it's what easily fucking got him out of even feeling any effect of coronavirus. Oh, he's fine. You can be fine too. No, you can't be fine too. And the people are feeling that, even with all of this like chaos around the vaccine and who gets the vaccine first and how do we sign up for the vaccine or how do we sign up for the stimulus? Even me, I keep trying to sign up for the stimulus and they're like, we can't find you in the system. And on the one hand, I'm like, oh, thank God the IRS has no idea who I am. Okay. Well, on the other hand, it's like, shit. Give me I haven't paid taxes for the last, LOL amount of years. what, how do I get helped? Right. So it's like, I'm being penalized for not participating in the system on some level. But on the other hand, it's like, the system is fucked up. The system isn't supporting anybody really. We are really feeling that now. We are seeing the racial injustice that is prevalent. You think Asian hate is new? You think Black lives have mattered? We have been such fucking assholes as a leadership culture and as a white culture and as a culture that really is just abusing other human beings so that we feel that we are safe and that we're protecting our own. But it's not. We are hurting each other the more that we keep from each other and the more that we withhold. I also think in the issue of privacy, there's this interesting, because it's like, and Nicole, I'd be interested in your take on this, right? Because it's like, I also think there's this sort of call for transparency. Like, we can't really live in the shadows anymore. I mean, every one of your readings just now, dude, was like, okay, you gotta come out of the closet and be honest. So it's like, what is the line between appropriate transparency, or how do you even know what is appropriate to share with who?
Yeah, that's something that I've had to learn myself, because there is a line that you can cross with transparency, and you have to respect what somebody else wants to know and what they're ready to know. Mm-hmm. So you can't just really dump knowledge and everything about you on someone else, because you can traumatize them. You will be responsible for their trauma. You will be responsible for hurting them instead of enlightening them. And that is the danger of taking transparency. Can be egoic, because it can be like, well, I love myself so hardcore that I'm gonna lay it all out there for everyone, and regardless of how they feel about it, oh well, they're just gonna have to figure it out. But a truly enlightened, transparent person can see the other person in front of them and say, do you want to know this? And ask the question, like, there's things that I haven't told you, and let me know when you want to find those things out. It's like being in a relationship. I've literally been down this road where I was with somebody and he didn't want to know, right? He basically kind of gave me a pass to be like, hey, you do you outside of this, but I don't want to know. And I ended up doing something and wanting in my fashion to be transparent and talk about it and to learn from it, I was like, you know what? You don't want to know, but I feel like I got to tell you. Now, karmically, that was something that we both had to go through. But I learned from that experience to not do that again, especially when, if that person isn't ready. And when that person is ready to find out, they will come and seek you out. And then when you are sought out for your transparency, that's when you're allowed to be transparent, because that's a part of it too. People can see right through you, but trust me, if they don't want to see something, then they will check out of that, even when they're looking at it directly in your silver plate they're handing to them. So you do have to respect other people's boundaries, and that is what we're talking about with the Mars and the Saturn trine. Like, it's respecting our own boundaries, but it's also respecting someone else's boundaries. If that person is not ready for what you have to offer them, and they literally tell you that they don't want to know, that they don't want to hear it, that to stop. If they tell you to stop while you are being transparent, then you should stop. It's your duty to respect that person. And it doesn't, because no matter what you tell that person, they're not going to gain anything from you anyway. Once again, you're just going to end up hurting them more. And then they'll never be able to grow out of that. They'll never be able to move on. Now, when we're talking about karmic things, trust me, these things come up karmically for a reason, and we just have to know that we're giving our chances to move on from whatever it is that comes up, especially in karmic terms. But when you are now enlightened to this understanding, it's not karmic anymore. Now you're just doing a disservice to someone by throwing it in their face. And once again, that has to be respected. And then I'm looking at so not to talk about the topic of privacy, boundaries, how to respect our boundaries with other people, and how do other people respect boundaries with us. I'm looking at the inside degrees. I'm looking at Mars at 9 degrees of Gemini, and I do want to read it because it is super important to literally everything you were saying, Sarah. So it is called Wildflowers Growing Around the Ruins of a Temple.
Yes.
Pretty much, right? The new sense of beauty that's springing forth from the ancient world. But it's new life. So now I'll start to read.
But it's kind of what you were saying too, which is like honoring what is. Like, you don't have to remove the ruins and put them in the ocean or pollute something. The ruins are there and they're to be honored and respected, but we don't have to like now be like, we got to turn this ruin into a house. It's like, no, the ruin can be a ruin and it can also be a garden. Right.
So catching a second wind. Taking a booster rocket from one cycle to another.
Yo!
From one lifetime to another.
Oh, shit!
One whole stage in evolution to another. Shot out of a cannon to discover the next great thing. You are wildly attentive to signs and portents, looking for a way to the future. Coming out of immense soul experience. With flying colors leaping forth into the new. Enthusiastic, naive, and impressionable. And I want to talk about that because it's just like, remember, we're at a new stage. And that's why you have to be so assertive about your boundaries. And you have to listen to others' boundaries because we're coming up with new ones. This is a new experience for all of us. No one's ahead or behind. You can only be behind if you choose to attach yourself to the past and not shoot yourself into the next stage of evolution. If you attach yourself to the old place that you evolved to and you don't realize that, okay, now I have to go on to this next stage and be a baby again, then you will get stuck into being the old woman or the old man. We are all babies again. And this has come up from the moon since last December. I was talking about this. When we hit January, that's what we're seeing. We're all children again. We're all experiencing each other new. So enthusiastic, naive, and impressionable. Eager for 1,000 universes to come true. You feel that ultimate springtime quality of fresh immediacy and windblown alacrity. Alacrity? Alacrity? Well, I don't even know what that means. Someone's gonna have to look that up. Just sensing all through body and soul the possibilities, the openings.
Alacrity. brisk and cheerful readiness.
Uh-huh.
I'm
Okay.
alacrity as fuck, bro.
Alacrity, got you. So, and wind-blown alacrity, just sensing all through body and soul the possibilities, the openings, and what wants to happen next. A destiny bearer, universal in spirit, and in the right place at the right time for remarkable synchronicities and huge turnarounds. And this is Mars energy, which means these turnarounds are not going to be hidden. They're going to be in your face. They're going to happen loudly and proudly. So if you can adapt that loud and proud energy of the synchronicities that are coming up for you, if you can not shy away from being like, well, I don't know if that sign was for me and I'm not really sure. This is about saying, yeah, so today I saw 333 and then I got a new job offer and then this new person came into my life and guess what? We're here and we're proud. That's what's coming up for the Mars and Gemini. And then when we look at Saturn in Aquarius, we're going to look at 10 degrees. And Saturn is the planet of boundary setting. So now we're going to talk about, well, what are the quote unquote limitations to this new stage in evolution, to this new world that we're finally getting to smell the flowers of, while still being connected to our roots, connected to the ancient past, and all of this divine energy that wants to come forth still and be highlighted and wants new beautification. That Venus in 28 degrees, then going to move into Aries. And then we'll see it take a new leap, right? Because there is this beauty of the divine that we're still feeling into. But let's go to Saturn. So Saturn is at 10 degrees. A black raven with a bright red head. A watcher, poised, observant, keen. Also, just that in itself is very
well.
sad.
I just want to say I did just dye my hair red, and I think between the two of you, like we got a black raven, we got a fucking watcher. Okay, we're tracking.
So a watcher, poised, observant, and keen, seeing into souls, negatively disposed, absolutely alert to what is wrong, to what is missing, to Isis and the missing dick.
Yo, we all looking for that soul dick. When really it's there all along.
To what should be changed, fabulously mental, with a gargantuan appetite for trouble, for difficulties, and for crises. Scavenger, bird of prey, karmic endowment of a strange kind, susceptible to the dark, wandering into a maze, knowing just where you are, but not who you are. Right? And that is kind of where we're at. We are seeing now the realities that have been hidden to us, that have existed. This Asian hate crime, all of these hate crimes. Immigrants and Asians were used to build a railroad system, and they were not paid fair wages. They were treated like slaves.
Mm-hmm.
This has happened. This is what America was built on. So we're talking about it again, and it's being cloaked in a way where it's like, oh, but this is new, and this is happening now. No, it's not new. We now have the eyes to see the darkness, to see the maze that has been created, the ones that we're trapped in. So knowing just where you are, but not who you are. And that is okay. Identity is eclipsed by the necessity to be effective in action. You are compelled from within to make yourself useful and to do the dirty work, to get down under. Gravitating towards the impossible and somewhat blind to the pitfalls of such a way of operating. You ferret out the facts. You serve a poser behind the scenes and are obedient to a fault. So we have this obedient Saturn nature, right? And we have it trining this Mars, new, fresh, everything is beginning again. And we're somewhere in between this, seeing the truth of the darkness, but also seeing the flowers that have come from it and the flowers that we're able to pick and we're able to give us that sense of hope. So it is not about ignoring the darkness to jump all the way into this future, because we actually have no idea where we are. This is true. We don't, we know where we are, but we don't really know completely what the role is that we're supposed to be playing. That is literally being illuminated to us as we go down this path. So to know that you have to express yourself from where you are, express what is working, what is beautiful, what you do see, and express the darkness that you see, and express the truth that is coming up, which is a classic Gemini thing to do, right? Mirror back the truth in its beauty, in its ancientness, and its darkness, in order to show other people that we don't know, which is this South Node in Sagittarius. We know some things, but we really don't know. And the only way to find out is if we're in communication. If we use our keen eyes and the things that we observe, we don't just keep it as observations, we actually speak on those things we're observing. Because then somebody will come to check you, or you're able to check somebody else, and we get to put this story together. That is a story that now we're not just putting the pieces together, but now we're creating this new story. All right, these are all the things that has happened. Well, do I want to be that person? Do I want to be this person? How do I want to change? And so you serve a poser behind the scenes and are obedient to a fault. But in this terms, you don't actually have to be obedient to a fault. We have that Gemini Mars trine pushing you out there so that you can now challenge that, more importantly for yourself first and foremost, so that then when you meet other people, you can challenge them correctly and not in a way that invades their privacy or that invades yours, in a way that is healthy, that respects everyone, but still able to be real and still able to educate and still able to be educated, which is really important. As much as we're out trying to show everybody what we know, we need to remember and leave room and space for ourselves to be educated, for our own minds to change. If that's what happens, we have to be willing to take on new information in order to process that new information for ourselves. We're not just observing what's around us, we're observing that darkness within us too. So that that little, the ground and the air, Mars is pushing the flower to grow past. It's pushing it to grow past the ground. And we're in that one little sweet spot right there, right about to hit the air, hit the sun, or the dark, because, it might be nighttime when the flower finally springs up above the earth. But either way, that's where we're at, right? We're coming into this newness, but we're still connected to all of the pain and all of the struggle. So we do have to verbalize the things. We do have to open the space. So that being said, yeah, talk about your boundaries. Don't talk about them like they're hard facts, but just talk about them with enough room so that you can have the discussion with others to compromise into something greater, to change it, to move it and manipulate that. And so you can work better with the people that's around you, because that really is how we're going to learn how to navigate this new world and this new concept of re-assimilating back into life. And what is new life now? It's very different than what it was before.
And it's really ours to create. I mean, that's kind of the thing, that it's like, it's not about like one thing being right or wrong based on the past and what we've been through. It's about being so grateful for everything that's happened and what we have now, so that we can take the good and move with it. Like, it doesn't have to be so, it's just like we have to let go of our old ideas about society, because even in the Sabian symbol version of where Saturn is, it's almost exactly the same. I'll read it. The Sabian symbol, which is similar to inside, these are all different channel degrees, but the Sabian symbol, Sun on Aquarius, the peeling the onion to get to the truth degree, a man who had for a time become the embodiment of an ideal is made to realize that the person they are is not ideal. I mean, it's right on. It's like, oh, everything that we thought that the vision was before, the fantasy of before, is sort of like, we're in a different movie now. Like, stop expecting it to be a movie that it's not. We get to actually be a part of the screenwriting team to rewrite the next movie, right? Now, I have a question for Alyssa and Nicole, but okay, so to me, because we are talking so much about, and then we can wrap up. LOL, we've been here for 3 hours. We cannot stop. I know that you said Gemini, Cancer don't talk as much, but I can't stop, won't stop. Okay. So this year has been interesting because we do have this energy in Aquarius that's going to continually square all year this energy in Taurus. And so we have Uranus in Taurus with Lilith, and we have Saturn and Jupiter will move into Pisces. I think I wrote it down, but it's like, I think later when is Saturn move into Pisces? I think it's like later this month, maybe, or maybe it's sometime before the end of summer, and then it will move back. It'll retrograde, and I can get the exact date for you. But it's really like we're watching this sort of Saturn and Jupiter. They're both going to be squaring Uranus and Taurus a number of times, really changing the shape of the Earth, right? Changing the way that we relate to the Earth, changing the way that we do things in real life, right? So in January we had Jupiter square Uranus, right? Then in February we had Saturn square Uranus, and so what we're kind of gearing up to is in June there's going to be another Saturn square Uranus. So I'm curious, Alyssa, like, how do you see this? Like, what are the best things? Because squares can be challenging. Also, Alyssa, you're muted. I don't know if you know, but we had a really good face show from you this whole time. But yeah, I would love your perspective on how do we gear up for this next because a Saturn square Uranus can be kind of jarring and fucked up, and it can feel like, whoa, the boundaries on Earth and the rules and structures on Earth are now clashing with what's going on in the environment. So we know that this is coming in June. How do we prepare?
So I think like looking at the modality of this square, so Aquarius is a fixed sign and Taurus is a fixed sign. And so what that means is if you've ever met any of those two fucking signs, they're stubborn as shit.
Totally.
And so what this means is like the change that Uranus demands is going to really change things for a while. And so I think like what folks need to be open to is the shifts in energy being long lasting and like preparing yourself on how do you respond to change when it feels like the earth is moving beneath your feet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because Uranus and Taurus rules kind of like the land, our food systems. I think like, and this is kind of like the big, I would say like one of the biggest transits of 2021. Oh my God.
It does feel like a time suck. It's so weird.
Right. It's also like Mercury is in Pisces right now. So like communication is incredibly soupy. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure everyone's experiencing this where like, you're saying the wrong words all the time. It seems hard to like talk about concepts, except like, like when I was talking, I consult professionally, astrologically.
Get a reading. They're so good. No, Alyssa's readings are so good. Sorry.
Yeah. Thank you. And your readings, oh my God, get a reading with Sarah. I like did not know shit about the asteroids. And then I was like,
asteroids are so fucking wild.
Right. And so like what happens when Mercury is in Pisces, then I'm going to go back to Saturn square Uranus, is like right now, since Mercury is in Pisces, I do want to say, because I didn't talk about it in the chart, is like with the Saturn squaring Mars, like poetry might not be your thing. There's really good and substantial and kind of violent poetry. And so,
yes,
people always reference Audre Lorde when we're talking about intersectionality, and people like frame her as someone who was like kind of like easy, I don't know, like I think easy to read, but like when you look at Audre's poetry, she speaks directly to systemic violence in a way that is like vivid and real. And so I do think like this Mercury in Pisces time, like try to look for like intangible things that are still real to you. And don't beat up on yourself for like not having the right words for the thing in the moment. No one has the right words for the thing in the moment. We are all dealing with this communication haze.
Yes.
I felt it when like Mercury went out of Aquarius and into Pisces. I was like, oh shit.
Dude, I felt it too. I really did feel it. And I was like, what is going on that like, it was confusing to me because on the one hand, I feel like I had all of these like really, I feel like I was going from this position where I had like really clear ideas about like what we were going to create in the business moving forward. And I was like, wow, I'm so clear. Like I even texted Nicole. It was like, like literally as Mercury was at that 29th degree, I was like, I've got it. I've got the vision. I know how we all make money together and what the vision is. And then as I started to like put it on paper and like, I was like, is that what it is? I don't know. Like, I don't even know how to write anymore. I think I'm just going to nap. But then like, I couldn't fall asleep. And so I've been in a lot of like lucid dreaming and like, I've been remembering my dreams so vividly, which is insane because I'm so fucking drugged, you know? So like the fact that I'm remembering my dreams is like, wow, we are doing a lot of work in the dream state right now. And I think that one of the ways that we can work with this soupy communication energy is to, number one, what Nicole was saying is like, it's not that we have to be transparent or not transparent. We do need to like ask permission or ask for certain things to be clarified if possible, or can I try to clarify this if possible, but also to share transparently with people, hey, I am feeling really sleepy, or I'm feeling really groggy, or I'm feeling really out of it, and give yourself permission to fucking talk less, take time out, and work with your dream state consciously, because there are messages that sometimes this confusion isn't necessarily just that it's confusion, it's that you're trying to, there's a message that's trying to get through to you, especially we had this new moon in Pisces with all of this energy in Pisces, like our nudges and our inner child and our dreams, and this confusion isn't necessarily here just to confuse us. It's here to slow us down so that we can actually, I think, work with some of these subliminal messages that we're receiving, or take a little bit of extra time to dream journal, take a little bit of extra time to ask the universe a question before you go to bed, and drink half a glass of water. And then when you wake up, drink the other half, and then answer the question, and just see if you can, if not you, but if higher you can answer the question that earth you is like, oh, what am I, you know? So that's really like the joy of this. I think the joy of when Mercury is in Pisces is that, similar to like that Mercury retrograde energy that I always deeply look forward to, it's like you are off the hook to communicate perfectly. You just need to let people know that that's where you're at. But it's like, I always joke, like, I love Mercury retrograde because, you know, if you're on here, you know that like my Moonual emails, they're few and far between. They come an hour before the show where I'm like, ha ha ha, LOL, remember to sign up. And then I'm like, oops, I didn't give anyone time to sign up. Here's the link, right? Like, so I'm not the best email marketer. LOL, somebody will come. I am going to visualize an email marketer to come join our team. But it's like more than that. When Mercury is retrograde or when Mercury is in Pisces, it's like, we're off the hook. Don't even worry about, communicate emotionally, like Nicole was saying, communicate emotionally what's true for you, and really stand for your Venus, you know, because especially as it moves into Aries, you're going to get like, there is going to be this kind of like glow up vibe, even if on a functional level, Venus is like, whoa, am I at war? Like whatever. But it's like, yeah, you know what? Not dress for war. I mean, that would be not even the look right now. We can't leave our houses, but it's like dress for the avatar you want on Zoom, and really let the choice, the creative choices you make serve you. But you can communicate while Mercury is in Pisces, you can communicate with a song or a grunt or a filter, sometimes better than you can with the words. So don't put too much pressure on like having it all figured out now. We're in the middle of a deep transformation, but make sure that you communicate with people where you're at so that there isn't this expectation that's not met, right? Like you're off the hook. It's like a Mercury retrograde, and we're going to have another Mercury retrograde. I think, well, I wrote it down, but it's now, where's my notebook? But there's going to be like I think there's like an eclipse there's an eclipse in June that's then going to have a Mercury retrograde follow it right away. So it's like there's going to be like a Sag Gemini eclipse cycle. And then all of a sudden in Aquarius, Mercury is going to start to go. Is it in Aquarius? No, it's in, I have it written down. Hang on, let me see. Where does Mercury go retrograde this summer? What signs? Is it, let me see.
I feel like it's either Cancer or Leo.
Let me look. This is like, I shouldn't have brought it up. Cut it from the thing. No, I wrote it down in my notebook, but now like this is so Mercury and Pisces. Oh, here it is. I'm like, where's my notebook? It's like,
is it in Gemini?
It's in hold on, I wrote it down. Oh, okay, it's in Gemini. So there's a Mercury retrograde So there's going to be a full moon eclipse on May 26th, and then Mercury is going to go retrograde 24 degrees Gemini, and it's going to travel back to 16 degrees Gemini. So we're going to be traveling. That's why I wrote it down, because where the North Node and Mars and the moon are now, we're going to revisit all of this with Mercury when Mercury is in its home sign to go, okay, wait. I did have those visions and those ideas and those thoughts then. I didn't communicate them properly. So actually, let me revisit the thing that I actually mean and go back. So you're going to have a chance to go back this summer, which is actually perfect because that kind of leads up into the transit that I want to know your take on, Alyssa, because it's like, that's what it is. It's like, so right now we're in the soupy zone, but you know, it's like when you eat soup and you're like, actually, I don't really like shallots in my soup. And so you push it all to the side of the bowl and you push it up into the bowl, but it's kind of a messy bowl. Then you're eating around, you know, or you're trying to save all the alphabet soup. You know, you want to just eat the broth so you can make letters in it and Instagram it or whatever. And then you're like, oh my God, I ate the vowels. And then you're like, oh, that's fucked up, right? So there's like this messiness and this artistry that it's violent poetry is right. If it's alphabet soup, if it's ramen, there's going to be things in there that you don't want or that are not expected to, or they're going to be things that you're trying to preserve and hold on to, and you can't. You're going to accidentally swallow a couple of vowels when you're just drinking the broth, right? So it's like you can't control that much of the in or out, but you can control how you're communicating your feelings, what's going on with you. And then there will be a chance to super clarify in May after these eclipses, which fate will wash things in and out. You can't do shit about it. So we're going to be in a totally different place in May that we can't really like foreshadow as much as it's just notice what's going on right now, because the emotional state that we are in during this ingress into Aries and during this rebirth of the zodiac year, we're going to have a chance to go back and edit, and we're going to find those new partners, and we're going to shift the way we're partnering differently. And it's going to all make sense. But right after that is when so then in June, there's going to be that square again between Saturn and Uranus. And so if there's anything else, is there anything else you want to share on that? I would love your take, Nicole, too, whatever you think.
So I think like for me, I'm thinking about like our relationship to perfection. So I think that is going to change, right? Yes. So we all have an idea of like who we want to be. What is the perfect person in our eyes, whether it's Mother Teresa or like, I don't know, Elon Musk, but he sucks. But like, you know, like we have this idea of how to almost like refine ourselves to the point where we're successful. And what Uranus, you know, that's Saturn speaking. And what Uranus does is like, okay, like you like Mother Teresa, but like make it gay, you know, like, or you like, you know, you like Elon Musk, but like, what about Elon Musk and sparkles and anti-capitalist, you know?
And what about Elon Musk's kid's name, you know?
Yeah. And so like for all of us, I think we're going to be redefining what our goals are and what perfection means to us. Mm-hmm. And the more we hold on to outdated modes of like what that is, the less opportunities that we have for like real freedom and liberation in the way we like set up our standards, right? Like we don't have to be the most like successful financially if it means that we're going to have room for self-care. You know, like some of the most rich, like, you know, money rich people are incredibly miserable because they can't stop fucking working. Totally. And so, you know, really thinking about like, what does freedom, what does liberation, what needs to change here? And I'm going to hand it off to Nicole because I'm sure she has some thoughts on the square.
Yeah, I like the perfection thing, right? So it is that revolutionizing success. And like I was saying before, like where the future of business and everything is going is that sustainability. We're bringing sustainability in a wholesome sustainability to our success lives, our money. We don't actually need what we think we need. And we're finally realizing that we've bought into the American dream for so long that we don't really need that. Also, the American dream is so, it's not American. The dream is so tailored to everyone individually that we're finally going to step into what really fulfills us. And it might not be even 10 grand in our bank account. It could be just like having a job that is barter and trade with people, and you're living with your friends, and you're raising your baby with, you know, with like this group of this community that actually supports you back. And it's about the exchange, and it's not about like, well, I have to prove to society that I can be a single mom and I can slave my day in my day job, and then come home and then like be tired and you know, then raise my kid but in like a shitty environment and not show my kids love. It's like finally embodying what makes us whole, and determining our success measured by ourselves. So it's like when someone says, hey, you know, are you successful and are you happy? And it's like, yeah, and these are the reasons why. Why are you happy? Why are you successful? And those can be so different in terms of like what everybody is experiencing. And all of this confusion in the middle, when we get to that Mercury retrograde in Gemini in the North Node, it's like finally it's everything in between is to purposely continue to jar what we think, in order for when we get there, we finally review all of this and we're like, oh, that one idea was the best one. Mm-hmm. Oh, that one thing that I did think about in Aquarius season, then implement in Aries season, then I watched it come to fruition in Taurus season, and I didn't even realize I was doing it. That's what brings me success. It's because we have to literally go through experiences in life in order to solidify how things feel for us on the inside. So until we get that duality, the opposite experience, the hurt on the other side, the absence of, until we experience what that's like, which is why we got all those downloads in Aquarius season, in order to forget them, like seemingly now, in order for our dreams to confuse us, literally Pisces season, so that when we get back to that retrograde, then we have enough time and space and experience to fill in the definitions of what we're really looking for, what we really want. Right now, we're just playing. We're playing with the experience because this is a new time. So play with it, because then when we get to that time during June, right?
Well, and it's like, so just because I now am embarrassed that I brought things up, and then I was like, I don't actually know, but it's like, okay, we forgave ourselves because it's Mercury in Pisces, so LOL, we're actually living the work. We're actually like demonstrating how it works. We're going, I don't even know. I'm on a 5-hour live stream and I don't know the answers to the thing that I prepared for. Okay, so just to give you some timeline, there's a full moon eclipse in Sagittarius on May 26th. Okay. Then the retrograde starts May 29th.
Got you.
Then there is a new moon eclipse on June 10th, and then Mercury goes direct at 16 degrees on June 22nd. So this is sort of like a May, June thing that we're like approaching, which is that things that don't totally make sense now, or if it seems like hopeless that you're going to be supported in your own version of the American dream, if you get super real with it and like Isis, just lay with the parts that you have and define success, whatever that means to you, you know, then when the fate eclipses happen in Gemini and in Sagittarius, in the ways that we've had enough humility to see the other side, or to have, you know, even with like all this, I don't know if you guys watched The Bachelor or Bachelorette. I actually have not watched until now, which the quarantine brought me to the Bachelor franchise. But there's this whole drama going on right now because the girl who won, so it was the Black Bachelor, and the girl who won, low-key, she's been accidentally racist online this whole time, posting pictures with her in front of the Confederate flags. She's liking, you know, her family, they're all dressing up like fucking some like hombres, and you know, they, you know, she's going to fucking antebellum balls, which like to people that, especially if you grew up in the Northeast, it's like, no, it's like a slave owner costume party. That's like what it is, right? But and at first, on a personal level, I was fucking pissed at the producers of The Bachelor and Bachelorette, because I was like, wow, for the amount that I know that they are trolling people's social media and controlling and researching people's social media, it's insane that we would actually allow somebody who clearly is, at least on a basic level, at least ignorant, to go on the show and then fucking win, right? But then again, with this idea of like, well, maybe it's all perfect. There's a part of me that like, if I can drop my being pissed for somebody not, you don't like even Chris Harrison coming out and being like, yeah, but in 2018, would people have associated an antebellum ball with slavery? And it's like 3 years ago, yeah. Like, I mean, we're talking about, you know, if we've had hundreds of years to fucking get cool with the past of our nation, the sordid past of our nation. And for whatever reason, the South is like holding on to the big dresses. I'm not sure. Okay. and you can say that it's not racist. And so I have a point to all this, which is that you can say that it's not racist and the impact maybe for her, she just has a thin waist and wants to wear, you know, she doesn't really have much of an ass. I get wanting to wear a big hoop skirt. Okay. But what actually ended up happening is she got called out for being fucking racist as shit. And then Chris Harrison tried to defend her by being like, well, that was 2018. And it's like, dude, 2018 was one eclipse cycle ago. This is modern as shit. And it's not showing that she's actually some bigoted racist bitch. It's showing the deep levels of ignorance.
Yeah.
That the white community is able to continue to hold on to as though, and so they get the privilege of playing ignorant when actually they don't know that. I mean, to go on the show with the Black Bachelor after having just graduated college from being in the racist sorority or whatever is kind of insane. But it's like she wouldn't set herself up to actually be outed as a racist or to date and to have an 8-week engagement with a black man if she was actually functionally racist. But then I started to look what was going on and I thought, wow, the producers are fucking assholes. They set him up for this. They set this all up because, you know, they're low-key just white supremacists, which they probably are. I mean, the Bachelor franchise, apparently, I haven't watched, but apparently they're racist as shit. Not surprising. Okay, it's for the middle of the country, no offense. But it's like, I actually love that this happens now. I love that this happened. First of all, boo fucking who, they broke up. They don't know each other. Second of all, if it takes a skinny 24-year-old racist antebellum ball bachelor winning person to wake the people up who have not woken up, then God fucking bless. Let her be our, what's the word I'm looking for? Like the
martyr?
Like let her take this bullet.
The scapegoat.
The scapegoat. Let her be the scapegoat for all of the idiot white people who are really have the privilege of ignoring. You know, they're like, yeah, but the Irish had it hard too, and it's like, shut the fuck up. Like, you know, if God forbid, and I know the Jews are known for this, but God forbid I brought up the Holocaust in every fucking conversation, you'd be like, okay, you know what? There have been a lot of Holocaust for many years for all the fucking, there's lots of genocide, Sarah. Fucking chill out. Just because the Jews are good writers and wrote their way out of the ghettos does not mean that your genocide is more important than anybody else's genocide. So I now love this Bachelor franchise twist.
But that's very important to say that the Jews were good writers and wrote themselves their way out, because literally the writers on The Bachelor and the writers of humanity right now are us. So in this observation of what's going on, we are rewriting that script.
Yes.
And we rewrite the conversation, and that's why it is important to have it in the forefront. It is important to trigger people, and it is important to see the truth, because that little town where she comes from and whatever, they would still be doing what they're doing in silence, and they can't anymore. Now there are all these eyes on them, and there's going to be eyes on them continuously from this point forward. So now, how do we address that, and how do we rewrite that story? Because
like, wouldn't it be wild if because of The Bachelor there was never another antebellum ball again? Like, I fucking love that as an outcome. Way better than these two strangers finding fake love on. I mean, that's so cool. Like, okay. And I also think it goes to show this North Node in Gemini, especially with the moon here and Mars here. I think what it's showing us is that it does take storylines. That's why I like the asteroids. It's really hard to learn sometimes through these like collective stories. And then even if you are listening to other people's pain, you go, but my pain. And so we don't really get it. But through a televised love story, okay, now we're watching, now we're listening. And it is when we're talking about storytelling, and we're talking about, I am a Gemini rising, I'm a storyteller. That pre-COVID, I was very good on stage. But it's like, when we're talking about storytelling, the number one rule of storytelling is the universal is in the specific. So we can be taught whatever bullshit or deeply understood version of American slavery or the Asian influence on actually our connectedness and our railroad systems, etc. But until we actually have a bachelor and a bachelorette to have this conversation around, I do think that we don't really get it doesn't stick, right? Because because the world is so vast and these stories are so vast, and it's like, yeah, but everyone said drama and everyone said this and everyone said that, and we have all this forgiveness for the white people, and we have all this forgiveness for fucking assholes because we have our own. Yeah, Ireland ran out of potatoes. We get it, and like, and yes, there was an Armenian genocide, and yes, every culture we have been. The real meta story that no one wants to talk about or no one wants to listen to because it's honestly not good TV is that we have been just killing each other from the beginning of time. People that look different from us and people that are different from us in trying to with this attitude of righteousness, because we go, no, we're protecting our family, we're protecting what we have, we're protecting what we own. And it's like, you don't own shit. We don't own this earth. Nobody owns the earth. What we have is each other. That's actually the only thing we have. So if it takes a fucking sordid story on The Bachelor and embarrassing after the Rose finale, I loved it. I'm so glad this was the only season I watched. If I could pick a season, it would be this. It would be this because, and even watching myself and the emotional journey that I went through. I mean, I was so quick to be like, fuck that idiot. She came on here to I don't know. I went through all these like trains in my head about the fucked up producers of The Bachelor and The Bachelorette and how fucked up this girl is for just trying to get fame on television, and she's racist as shit. And it's like, actually, I don't think she's necessarily racist as shit. I think she's ignorant as shit. And we all kind of believe the stories that we are raised with. And we don't want to admit that there's any kind of, even though like we want to know that our parents fucked us up in the way that we are talking about in therapy, but past that, not interesting. We don't want to really see our parents as flawed or racist or fucked up or ignorant or inhuman in any way. So I think this is a perfect example of the way that we use this North Node in Gemini to come to this deeper understanding of each other. And when things get fucking messy and weird and soupy, and I love that this all happened during this fucking electric Pisces season, because when you try to do electric plus water, it shorts out. It's like, right? And then there's the current is stopped by the water, and the fish are just like, why did we just die? Like, why did everybody just die? So there's all this confusion in this space, but really it is this like changing of the guards that was happening on this last new moon. And with the Venus there and the Neptune there, it was like really zooming us way out and going, no. This is the issue. This is the issue. Get cool. This is the issue. And then from this Gemini North Node perspective, we were going, oh, and I can see it being played out on national television in this way. And now I sort of understand. So God bless Rachel Kirkconnell from The Bachelorette. Sorry that we had to embarrass you a little bit, but you deserve it. No. And I'm not angry at her either. Now I'm like, oh, I get it. Like I have space for the fact that they asked her on the After the Rose. They said, didn't you know that you had these pictures up? Like you went on The Bachelor, you went on the Black Bachelor. Didn't you know that you had Confederate flag photos and an antebellum gown? And she said, I literally didn't think about it. Okay.
I mean, I feel like, I don't think it's the end of the story. And the reason why I say that is that algal Mars, right?
Yeah.
Be careful with the scapegoat. And so like, for me, it's like, you can be ignorant and racist.
Yeah,
I think
certainly.
And I don't think that like racism necessarily has to be intentionally malicious, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like she probably saw this as an opportunity to like get her name out there, saw this guy as a tool rather than like a person. And like to me, I'm like, oh, that's a little unforgivable. But I also think like, Sarah, your first reaction is like, yeah, fuck the producers. I also think like, when you have one person go down and take the fall, the system gets exposed. And so I wouldn't be surprised if in the coming time, when like people are talking about The Bachelor, that more stories come out, right? Because like with this algal energy, I really do think that, when you let one person take the fall, it has consequences.
Dude, I could not. Well, that's why I wasn't pissed at her, because I understood her ignorance, right? Like, I do think her parents are fucking dumb racist. I mean, in the show where they like came and met him, they were like, we really don't see this working out. We really don't see this working out. I mean, it was like they were saying so much without saying anything, right? Like, so it was like, oh damn, like this is very uncomfortable, and she's obviously gonna win now, because we're like, no, the other one's perfect for you, don't do it, don't pick the white girl. But he did. He, you know what? The truth is, she looked exactly like his mom. That's why I picked her. Everyone's fucked their mom. So, but I agree with you completely that, right, she isn't. I wasn't mad at her. I was mad at the producers. I thought, how dare they if you read anything about the franchise, the way that they scrub all of their social media to make sure that they're these like ideal candidates, to miss this, I mean, so maybe there was someone that was in there going, a racist, a few racists on the Black Bachelor season. Let's really stir up some drama. Even if that was the case, it's fucked up, and it's fucked up position to put him in. It's a fucked up position to put, now there was one Black Bachelorette. Now there's been more, and there's going to be another, but there was one for a while, and then they gave her like a TV show, and they gave her all this because they were like, well, look, see someone Black. And it's like, for the people that grew up in actually like multicultural communities, it's like the token Black friend doesn't represent the whole culture. It's about actual integration and actually really understanding multiple people's stories so that we actually come to this greater collective sense of understanding, compassion, empathy, and then move fucking forward, and then we write a new story together. So I do forgive her on some level, because I think that I would love to see her chart. I bet you $1 million this was part of her karma. She is the face of this. But yeah, I think Alyssa's right. This is not just about her. It's not even just about the producers. It's like, apparently, and again, I just joined the franchise. I'm now in the Bachelor Nation, but previous to this, apparently there was gross racism on every season. And I guess like in the Bachelorette and Rachel Lindsay's season, apparently there were some guys who like were like very flagrantly racist, like with her and to her. And it's like, what the fuck are they doing there? And I mean, they didn't win. I think she ended up with the guy she's with still, which is remarkable. At least a Black woman does actually have good judgment. So thank you, America, for showing us that story as well. But, it's really just like, yeah, like these injustices that come about that expose, the lack of, compassion or education aren't necessarily here to fucking rile us up and have us go shoot up, whatever place we feel that they're different than us. It's actually here to wake us up and invite us to join a conversation in a way that, because we have these specifics to use as talking points that do feel as benign as The Bachelor, I actually think it's a beautiful cosmic it's a beautiful cosmic nudge to that North Node in Gemini, which is like, no, the specifics of each other's stories are how we grow as a collective. And so what Nicole was talking before about transparency, what to share, what not to share, I think asking permission, receiving permission, all of that is very real. But at the end of the day, the truth is going to come out and everything is going to be exposed before this North Node in Gemini,
right,
like transit is over. So you do need to do that work of getting super real with yourself. Where are you having thoughts that you are really fucking righteously holding on to, like that Cleopatra ass, sexy ass, powerful ass, but ultimately arrogant bitch who thought she was better than people, And at the end of the day, she could have lived forever. She was immortal, right? She was the fucking bomb.com. And she was like, Mark Antony, I cannot take it. Fucking kill me here now, because I cannot with this evolution. I cannot lead all the people in a way that actually has me being a leader that is compassionate and that promotes equality. I am only interested in my power and being this all-powerful, perfect being. And I can have my husband, twin flame brother, wife, and then I can also have my Mark Antony lover. And then at the end of the day, she's like, I don't want to fucking live. I don't want to fucking live, because she was so seeped in untruth. So in your own thoughts, when you're having thoughts where you're like, this is true. Well, I have to do this because what excuses you're making. I'm talking to myself here too. I mean, there's no getting out of the lessons you have to learn. And if it takes going on the Black Bachelor season to have that truth exposed, I think on a soul level, this was meant to happen. And I think you're right. It will lead to way more exposure. And who are the fucking producers that I want to know what they think. Why haven't they spoken? I want to know how they let this happen.
Well, until we start tweeting at them and demanding it, then I mean, because we have the power now, we really do. That was one of the major things that has transpired even with the astrology coming into this season. And the power dynamics are now completely, I mean, not completely, but they are such highlighted as illusions. And we really see our strength in numbers, see our strength in our voice. We have so much more strength now. in just questioning and in just forcing those conversations to be had, right? And that's why in a collective way, transparency is different than one-on-one. Collectively, you put the stuff out there, you ask the questions, you wait for people to come and fill in the blanks, right? Collectively, it is very different. Like
So The Bachelor was like, how racist is America?
yeah.
And we found out. We found out one story.
Exactly. And it's true. The rest of the stories are going to come out. This is going to happen. And this is my prediction just for Hollywood and celebrities. And I've said it a few times. And I want to say go from now to 2024. And I'm just going to say, I believe a lot of celebrity sacrifices are going to happen more than we've seen in our lifetime.
That's why we're not famous yet, you guys. Duh.
For real. And I think there's going to be a lot of celebrity sacrifices. And then there's going to be a lot of innocent people, innocent celebrities dying too. Innocent as in not really a part of that bigger conversation, but used. And we're just going to see so many of them go. And this idol worship and this idea of putting people on pedestals and without really knowing who they are, it's coming up for analysis. And Hollywood is taking this crumble and this fall. And as they falls, we're going to find out who are the celebrities that really give a shit, because some of them have been suppressed so hard because of the industry that now they have the power of their fans and they have the power of their people to speak on their behalf and get co-signed. And when Hollywood falls, some of these celebrities are going to fall right on the backs of their biggest fans, of their soul fam. And they're going to have like a real footing, and they're going to give back in the way where they get to like open the stage up for us. And this is where we're going to finally see this turn in celebrity idol worship and the media and entertainment. And we're finally going to get the reins back, and it's going to change. It's been changing. Netflix, all of these other like platforms have been changing it. You know, YouTube itself changed it. Us being here is changing that. And we don't need followers, right? That's the whole point, is that whole idea is going to die because we only need who we need. And when we find the people we need, our lives take off. Our lives, the quality becomes so much richer and so much better. And the truth is, we all are not here to broadcast. We're not all here to be watched 24/7.
I mean, the three of us specifically are.
Yeah. Some of us are, some of us aren't, and those lines have been blurred, and we're going to see it reroute itself through time. And it's a beautiful thing. So it's like, yeah, a lot of people are about to get their heart broken with their favorite celebrity dying, and I don't want to speak that morbid energy into the air, but the truth.
Ooh, any predictions? Who's gonna die? You heard it here first.
Jesus Christ. I don't know if I have the predictions on who is gonna die, but I feel like it's gonna be some of the greatest people we have still on the scene that are gonna die.
Damn, all right, shit, okay.
I really do think so. And then it's gonna be like some people behind the scenes dying that we haven't heard about. And they're it's just gonna be a story that comes out of nowhere. Like, this person was fighting against, like, for example, like Ashton Kutcher fighting against human trafficking for like years and years and years.
Yeah.
If he happens to, God forbid or whatever, especially for the people who are really fighting for the causes, let's say he drops off the scene somehow and it comes out, then all the truth of what he was fighting for will come out too. So it's not just like this person dying and then that's it. We're going to have these greats die as a kind of a distraction, because those are the ones that are going to get killed off. And then we're going to have these other people being killed off too, or leaving. And it's going to be a lot of disinformation. It's going to sound like COVID. It's going to be this. It's going to be suicide. It's going to be all of these other things. But like, the amount that's going to happen is going to create this war in Hollywood against Hollywood. So it's going to be parts of Hollywood against the other parts of Hollywood. And that is the real war that's happening on the planet, but it's just being broadcasted out of America. But guess what? America did this to themselves. America wanted to be the ones in front of the media. They wanted to be that energy. So now as it falls down, keep your eyes on Hollywood, because what's happening there is happening to everybody. It's happening.
Right, because there's such an emphasis in the United States and with Hollywood of being like a world power.
Exactly.
Instead of being a part of the world. And that really is like the essence of this whole Aries ingress, which is a death. And it's not necessary. So it could, we heard it here now, all the celebs, poop, they're going to die. But it's not, it's not necessarily that literal, but it's a death of the old system. And it's a death of our old selves that we pictured as a part of this system, so that we can really let go of the old narratives and storylines that are keeping us in these karmic loops. And we can take all, you know me, I am not letting go of any of my karmic partners. I'm with them for life, okay? They're it for me, but I don't need to continue to be in the same struggle with them. I don't need to be in the same struggle with the entertainment industry or money or whatever. I can drop the struggle, take a look at everything that I have, and move forward in a new way that actually includes the community and includes the people. Like, we get to redefine the American dream, which actually is, that's what Aquarius and Saturn is trying to get us to do. Like, no, it's the global dream. First of all, most important thing, we have to have a planet. Until we have the technology to really go live in outer space again, we have to save the planet. We have to help the people who are at the bottom of the class system, because they have no shot otherwise. And the deeper we fall, it's all of us. It is collective. Your city is not as safe if there are people that are not being taken care of and don't have their needs met. And fuck this whole idea of like government handout. First of all, if anything, the government should be handing out, because isn't it their job to make sure that the people are safe? And isn't it their job
to pay them?
That's why we pay them. We pay them to represent us.
And to take care of us when shit goes down.
And it has not been the case. It has not been the case. There is a huge, I just think you're so right that it's not going to be just Hollywood either. I think that there's such, now it's like Hollywood, corporations, and politics are all kind of now, it's like they're now all on the Death Star. There's like this evil empire thing that's happening. And, you know, a couple of those, what are they called? Stormtroopers? A couple of them about faced, and they were like, yo, I'm within, and I'm actually going to go with Luke Skywalker from this, you know, and Darth can suck my dick or whatever. Because on some level, there's at least a stormtrooper or two that's like, okay, wait a second. Like, I've been totally castrated. And even though Cyrus was castrated, could make a baby, I'm being castrated by this fucking Darth ass Vader dude. Like, no way. I'm going to take back my power. So there is going to be these overhauls from within, and within these power systems, there are people that have infiltrated that are meant to have been there. Alyssa said in the chat, imagine Darth Vader sucking your dick through the mask. No, you thought you were breathy. You thought you couldn't breathe when you got a dick in your mouth.
Yeah.
He's like, look, he's like, I am your daddy. But no, seriously, I think, we're going to see a lot of what they would feel is corruption from within, but they don't realize they're corrupt. And as the people who luckily aren't famous stars yet, luckily, we get to rebuild all of these systems once this crash happens. It really in our own, and I feel the same with like the followers thing. It's like, even with the entertainment industry, like I pitched the Moonual years ago to a bunch of different networks and different entertainment producers, and they were all like, yeah, but do you have the followers? And it's like, you know, I don't know if I have like the followers, but I'll tell you that enough people at the Moonual buy sessions or coaching from me that I can support myself, and they all perform at the Moonual. And I you know, so it's really like, you know, I think with Aquarius energy, we think in terms of quantity, but with that Taurus energy, we think in terms of quality. So when we're seeing these squares play out, it is this battle between quantity and quality. And because the North Node is in Gemini, there is sort of there's an exposure that's available, and we'll find that middle. We'll find that middle, and it will be like, whoa, you want all these followers and none of them are, you know, leaned in, or you want all these followers that are actually not even watching The Bachelor and are still going to Annabelle Balls. Please, if you're racist, you should at least be watching the Bachelor franchise. If you're not, I don't know what the fuck you're doing, because we are trying to help out here casting this antebellum ball bitch. Like, if you're not even, what are you tuned into then? And it's not up to us to be judgmental or scream at them. It's up to us to investigate and find out and go, how do we actually have conversations with these people? Not from an angry algol place, but from a place of, yo, we have got to come into a greater understanding by sharing our humanity and share. Hollywood, I hope, turns into a place where we have a huge array of cultural stories being told from all across the board. And it allows us to be further educated on each other and tell stories that are multicultural and that have, I mean, did you guys watch the Woody Allen documentary?
Yeah.
Sorry to just keep this going. I love a Zoom. But Alyssa, you are muted, but I like guessing what you're saying.
I gotta go at 9 p.m.
Okay, we can wrap up.
I do want to say that, like, what Nicole you said about Hollywood is really interesting, because like what I'm not seeing is deaths, but I am seeing like an end to influencer culture.
Yes.
And I'm also seeing the, fame as a working condition, right? Like,
Yes. Wow.
so when we
Alyssa.
see celebrities and, actors and actresses getting super, super, super famous, the first thing I think of is when Meghan Markle and, like
Harry.
Prince Harry, they were fucking talking, and like the amount of money they have to spend on protection, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And that's how the castle, the palace tried to hurt them. That was
right.
their first way of hurting them. Okay, you could slug your title, you could do this, you could do that, you could live in Canada, but you will not be secure. You will not
Right.
have security.
And when I think of like Hollywood, I think of like these, like a lot of these writer rooms are white as fuck.
Yeah.
They're all white as fuck with one black person that's representing everybody, and it's not really right. And then there's a lot of pressure on that person.
There's a lot of pressure on that person, and also the people who are financing it are white. And so like there is a push for diverse stories, and like I want to honor and acknowledge that. But I also think that a lot of people are just going to be like, I don't want to be famous if I'm not in control of what the fuck I'm saying.
Yep.
Because like I saw this documentary and I'm blanking on it and I'm so sorry, but like it was a documentary about the rating system and how a lot, like if you show like certain kinds of like military violence, you have to get the US Department of Defense involved in the movie. And so a lot of movies have propaganda, right? So like,
oh my God, you got to find the name. I want to watch. That's like perfect.
Yeah. I'll look it up, but it's, to me, I see a lot of people just being like, it's not fucking worth it. It's not worth it to be famous if I'm not being protected. It's not worth it to be famous if all this shit is going on. It's not worth it to be famous if I'm telling a story that I literally do not believe in and have control over the way it's portrayed. And I think a lot of people are going to opt out and live more secluded lives because, like, what is the point? Like, you're an influencer and you have all of this, like, fame and, like, maybe you'll get, like, money off of a YouTube video. But, like, at the end of the day, if you don't have security, if you are getting doxxed, if you're getting harassed, like, what is in it for you? Nothing. And so people are just going to become more reclusive because I'm telling you, like, pandemic time right now, like, we are learning about what is home and what we keep to ourselves.
Well, and we're also seeing when we are home and when we are keeping to ourselves, who we actually are. It's interesting, even with the astrology, like one of the questions we want to ask ourselves as we come into this full moon in Libra, and that's going to be super illuminated, I think, during the full moon in Libra, is this larger question of like, okay, what about regular society? What about pre-COVID? Because as we know now, this is the new, it's not Christ consciousness, it's COVID consciousness. It is one AC, one after COVID. And how many times did you do stand up? One time, but at least I did it. Okay. But it's like moving forward, if you could look back on this past year and see what parts of BC before Corona you miss, what parts do you notice that where do you notice that you were actually using partying or clubbing or whatever to distract yourself? What part of you actually feels like unless you're in X, Y, and Z situation, you can't do X, Y, and Z? What do you notice when you're alone and have nothing to do? What are the documentaries that you are watching? Are you willing to put in that work to learn about other cultures when it's actually not in your face? That's why I think on some level, this Mars algol, and again, like heinous crime, my heart goes out to everyone in Atlanta and everybody in, anybody in the Asian community, but in the immigrant community that has been shit on and abused and it's like also fucked up. But similar to Rachel and all of this being sort of perfect in the end, God forbid we had a pandemic and everything closes down except violent racism. Get real. We have to see these things happen. We have to see our own reaction to these things happening. We get to see how much we care about what at this time. And we get to see what we are using to mask other things and what we miss about the culture that we can't get on our own. If we can figure out how to get those things on our own or in this digital way, when we do enter society again, we're going to have a much more richer, fulfilling experiences and have much more quality in our social interactions, because we're coming to a place where we actually know who the fuck we are. And you can see over the past year what your journey has been like and what has changed for you, and how have you coped with these losses, or how have you, I think in certain ways, like I've indulged in some of my worst behavior. And actually now I'm like, is it my worst behavior? What does matter? And there's no right or wrong, but it's like, you get to get real about who you are, what you need from society. And it might not be what you thought it was before. And you might see that the things that you were using before to make X, Y, and Z happen in your life are also not, are not actually in your best interest, and were not real, and did not, even like what Nicole's saying, this idolization of celebrities, or this ignoring or like doxing or like blacklisting of celebrities who are actually speaking up on causes. Yeah, like the cloak is going to continue to be unveiled, people, and it's going to be unveiled in the collective, and it's going to be unveiled in ourselves, and it is all the same. It is all mirrors. Nobody is perfect. We are all, and you don't even have to be perfect. What you do have to be is real, and you do have to know yourself enough to know how you can cope and how you can move forward through whatever muddy, messy, pandemic times come upon us in the future, because we are truly in dark times. We are in the dark ages. There's not going to be really any major planets in fire for like 5 years or something. Like we're actually we're moving into a time where we are our own lights, and the screen, the screen that is illuminating my face and hiding my skin, that's enough light for me, certainly. So I do think that the light within you, and not to make it about the Jews again, but it's a very Hanukkah vibe. It's like you might get more light out of that oil than you think. You might not need to be over consuming. You might not need to, if you can live in a way that is moderate and enjoy things in moderation and enjoy things to the degree that it's necessary, not exploitative. And we actually then take that thinking and apply that to our employees and our work lives and the way that we treat people. We actually just don't need to exploit anything. We can use what we need. It's different for everyone. We can evolve, we can learn. Rachel from The Bachelor will go down in history as an awesomely good bad guy racist, LOL, except that I can't wait to see, it's possible that she also redeems herself. That's the beauty of this crazy ass time that we're in, that bad guys can become good guys and good guys can become bad guys. And ultimately there's a little bit of everyone in everyone. And when there actually is somebody to demonstrate growth before our eyes, and I do hope, I'm curious to see how it kind of like plays out, but it's like, it's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to get called out. I have made some big time mistakes in my broadcast career since the beginning of coronavirus started. I have said some accidentally racist things, or because I'm a comedian, right? So like sometimes I'm just like trying to get a good one. I'm trying to fucking like say the thing, or, we're in a safe comedy, and it's like, no, I say things, and I've said things that hurt people's feelings. I've said things that I didn't realize were what they were because of the like where that language is coming from. I just didn't know, right? And so I got a little Rachel in me too. I'm pissed at the fucking Bachelor producers, and yet I'm out here using terms and I don't know what they mean, because so it's not like, oh no, you're bad, you better hide. But it's like, when you make a mistake, you say sorry. When you make a mistake, you say sorry, and you take the recommended reading and you read it, and then you think about it, and then you invite your other white or black or Asian or whatever, the Trinidadian friends to read what you read, because you kind of know where they're coming from too, and you learn something, and so now you want to share that knowledge. That's what the North Node in Gemini is about. It isn't about, I'm a comic, I was pre-COVID. I did stand up once last week and I crushed, so I will be back. But honestly, this is stage enough for me. I don't need your fucking laughs. I'm funny as shit. But it's like, really, like we are finding out. Even that though, even for me as a comedian without a stage, you want to know something? All the open mics I went through in my 9 years of doing stand-up comedy, I'm a much better comic than I am now because of this circumstance where I actually don't have an audience to impress. I'm not trying to impress industry, so I'm not just running my same set over and over again, trying to get discovered for these jokes that are actually shitty to go on TV so that I'm an influencer, so that I have clout as a comedian or whatever. It's like, no, me running my mouth on IG Live or on YouTube Live or whatever, I've been talking way more. There's no laughs anyway, so it's not to impress anybody. I'm just practicing. And then when I got on stage last week after having no stage for a whole year, and I thought, oh my God, I don't have any jokes, I'm going to suck. I was awesome. because I don't need the things I thought I needed to be who I actually am. I am who I actually am. And through whatever fucking fucked up stuff we've been through, if I can keep a sense of humor, sure, I might have made a few jokes that were not good ones and then apologized and then felt horrible about it and shame myself. And then, but it's like you show up again and you practice again and you keep getting better and better. And you don't need the things you thought that you needed. You don't need the people that you thought that you needed. And in fact, you're connected to the people that you are not connected to 24/7 for the rest of your life. The other thing I want to say, and then we can LOL wrap up. Nicole, maybe we get a card before we go or whatever. I just want to keep us going forever. But the North Node is also on a degree that the Sabian symbol specifically is. I could find it, but I know what it is. But it's because it's my, so 14 degrees Gemini is my rising sign, and it's all about telepathy. It's all about the ability for people to, so it's not about not sharing your feelings or sharing your feelings. And no, people can't technically read your mind, but our thoughts emanate. And there is the ability for us to focus and use telepathy and use unseen energy to communicate and call people and things and opportunities in ways that we are not comfortable discussing. Okay. But as a 14-degree Gemini rising, I can tell you that we are literally infiltrating your mind and your soul, and you're fucked because we are talking to you. You think I can't stop talking now? You want to, this 5-hour Zoom will continue in the ethers. Okay. I will keep talking to you after this, and you will all come to the Moonual on Sunday because the three of us, we're going to be there. Okay. And it's gonna be fun as shit. We have comedians, we have music. It's the best time ever. And I will telepathically call all the people that are meant to be there in. And you know what? I don't care if more than 100 people come. I don't have the Zoom to support it. Okay. So I don't need to call in bigger than my britches. Okay. But I'm going to call in the perfect people to be there at the perfect time. You can come in or out. They go all night. I cannot. In a regular comedy club, the shows have to be an hour and a half. Who has time for that? I need 8 hours at the club. So that being said, any final thoughts, Alyssa? Any final thoughts, Nicole? How do we wrap this up once we're on the roll like this?
My final card that I was pulling while everyone was talking, and it's literally perfect. It's a new earth. It's happening. Keep holding the vision. And that's all. So if tonight you can remember this, and for the rest of this Aries season, for the rest of this year, it is happening. There is confirmation. And that's all we have to do is keep holding the vision and striving towards that. And we're doing it.
I love that. And I guess the one thing I want to say, and then we can have a final thought from Melissa, and then we can fucking end. No, we don't need tons of followers, and we don't need more than 100 people at the Moonual, but we do need 100 subscribers. So right now, our YouTube handle is youtube.com/ and then it's like UXZT. And actually it's harder than my like credit card number, harder than my social. It is an impersonalized YouTube handle. Okay. So for the sake of my email marketing that may or may not even happen, I would like to change it to just be, hey, go to moonual.com youtube.com / the Moonual, but you cannot unless you have at least 100 followers. So if everybody could follow, what'd you say?
I said there is an algorithm. We need to try to keep up with it. So please subscribe because we all appreciate it.
You know, we don't need to be like the influencers, but we do need to just change our YouTube handle. You know, we just want to own youtube.com / the Moonual. So we need 65 people. So if everybody here wants to make sure they're subscribed, and then get like a few friends, bring them in. They can mute me. I don't give a fuck. I'm still getting to them in the ethers, right? Because I'm telepathic and I'm Gemini rising. I'll fucking keep fucking pounding at 8th house moon Mars. I'm crazy, right? I'm gonna keep fucking sending the messages. But yeah, 100 will be great, just so we can like have a custom URL. LOL. So we don't need followers, but we do need 65 people to follow the Moonual so that we can have a URL.
Thank y'all. Thank you guys too. Thank you, Alyssa, for hopping on.
Alyssa, you're so game. Aquarians are fun because they're like, okay. They're like, yeah, I'll fucking come share. Any final thoughts from you, Alyssa, before we also, I guess what I want to say too from Alyssa, because I don't promote you as much. How can people find you if they want to get a reading? What do they do? Razzie, I know all our stuff. How do we work with you?
Okay, so if you are on Twitter, my @ is Praxis, Praxis. Astrology, you know how to spell astrology.
We hope.
And then on Instagram, I'm Praxis_astrology. I do have a talk coming up. It's gonna be free for the Radiant Astrology Conference, and I'll be talking about the 6th house.
Oh, hell yeah.
So, you know, I will be posting that in the coming days. I just need to get like the links and stuff for registering. But that is like something on the horizon. If you like the way I do astrology, I have no final thoughts. I have ascended from being hangry to being tired because
Yes.
of Mercury and Pisces. And so I am looking forward to a nice long sleep. Hopefully we've all tired ourselves out, right? Like,
Definitely. It's time for a bubble bath.
yeah.
Actually, that sounds like a great idea. Oh, everyone
Right.
should
So
go
let's
back.
all get some rest.
Rest.
And I know you wanted to end it. You want to end it so bad. I just want to say that part of how you can, as someone who hates to sleep, I always want to be up. I love being up. Think of it more as like you want to get some rest and just put a journal next to your bed and do what I said. Drink half a glass of water, ask a question, and you wake up in the morning, dream journal, because it's not just sleep for sleep's sake. You're battery, you need rest, whatever. No, you are working. I'm a
You're
Capricorn
still
with Mars.
working.
I want to work. So sleep is a part of the homework. It's not just like you need sleep. You're a human. No, I'm an ancient being. I don't need shit, but I am curious about the messages that may come through in my dream state. And therefore I will sleep so that I can dream, so that I can receive the messages and write them down in the morning. So
The Capricorn Mars popped out, Sarah.
dude, well, it's 8th house, so I try to conceal, but no, I'm a Capricorn Mars pretty severely. Yep. Let's
Thank you.
rebuild.